Good evening, welcome along. It is crunch time here on Sky Sports News. Just 2 hours to go until the transfer window slams shut.
Yeah, plenty of big deals are still on the cards, as well as teams across the country race to bring in new players before 11 p.m.
We'll bring you the breaking news first. Right here, of course, we won't be doing it alone. No, we won't. Look who is here joining us for the late shift tonight.
Yeah, you might say, look what the cat's dragged in, but I wouldn't say that. That would be rude. Chris Boyd there, Clinton Morrison, Sue Smith and Michael Dawson as well are joining us this evening, and there's plenty to talk about as well, and plenty of deals still to be done.
I'm at Manchester City, where the club hope to cap an already excellent transfer window with the big money signing of midfielder Nico González.
I'm here at the Tottenham Hotspur training ground, where Spurs could land the biggest surprise yet of this deadline day, as Mathys Tel looks to choose Spurs over other Premier League rivals.
The surprises keep on coming. Willian on his way back to the Premier League to rejoin a former club as well. Who could that be? Details on the way.
What a 24 hours Aston Villa have had. Marcus Rashford signed last night, Marco Asensio today, and there could be more to come.
And no incomings today for Manchester United, but Patrick Dorgu has been having a good look around Old Trafford. Analysis of all the day's deals are on the way. Here we go then, and every transfer deadline day has its saga, doesn't it? And this year it's the story of Mathys Tel's U-turn. After turning down an approach from Tottenham over a permanent move, he's flown to London with a deal to join them now close. Let's find exactly what is happening with Eleanor Roper, who is live at the club's training ground for us. What can you tell us, Ellie? Good evening.
Good evening. Well, I do have an update for you in the last few minutes. We've got a bit more information on what this deal will look like, and we understand that he will join Tottenham Hotspur from Bayern Munich on loan, but with an option to buy. There were reports coming out of Germany that this would be a straightforward loan, but we understand, as I say, in the last few minutes, that Tottenham will have the option to buy the player. As you say, some back and forth over this. It looked like the deal had been done and that a fee of around £50 million had been agreed. That deal looked to have collapsed. There was lots of other Premier League interest, but he flew into Farnborough Airport earlier on today, and we've been awaiting an update on a medical and also for a bit more information on what this deal would look like. So for Tottenham fans following this one, it looks like it is a loan deal, but with an option to buy. Another update which we can bring you this evening is on Radu Dragusin, who we understand has suffered an ACL injury and is expected to undergo surgery later this week. Obviously, huge disappointment for Spurs injury-wise, so this further disappointment on that front. Now the club hoping to sign another defender. We wait to see, can they get it done in the next 2 hours?
We'll keep a close eye on it with you, Eleanor. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, Tottenham, one of the clubs we're following very closely then clearly tonight. Let's have a chat, first of all, about Mathys Tel. Then, Michael, I'll come to you. It's your old club. A few days ago, it seemed like he didn't want the move. Now he's on the verge of a move. What do you make of this U-turn?
It's been a very interesting few days. I was sat in here on Saturday and it looked like he was going to Manchester United. It looked like he'd rejected the opportunity to go to Spurs, and it's amazing. Monday night, deadline day is coming up. Maybe he was just sounding everything out, looking around and seeing what the best options were for him. You've got to realise he's still only 19 years of age, and last season he made an awful lot of appearances for Bayern Munich. Been few and far between this year, and I think it's a great fit for both parties. I really do. He needs to go and play some game time, and I think where Spurs are at now, anywhere across the front three that they play with, whether it be Sonside, Kulusevski, or even through the middle with no Dominic Solanke, he can play in any one of those positions. So, young player. Hopefully he can come and it'll be done for Spurs, because I think it'll be a good signing for them.
So something of an irony that when Harry Kane was at Tottenham, they couldn't find a suitable understudy. Now his understudy at Bayern, who can't get into the team because of Harry Kane, is coming to Spurs to possibly be their main striker, ultimately. What about this as a move for him in a team that likes to play attacking football? Is this a good move for him?
Yeah, well, I was quite surprised when he'd obviously come out, was it Friday night, when we thought, is he going to go somewhere else? Is he going to go to Manchester United? I know the position that Tottenham are in, all of the injuries that they've had, but you just thought once those injured players come back fit, the way that Tottenham like to play, if you were an attacking player, you'd probably want to play in that sort of side. 19 years old, so much potential. He's obviously not playing enough football where he is at the moment, so he's going to want to come, he's going to want to play. The fact that he can play in different positions maybe helps him out, and you just feel because of the injuries, will he get that opportunity maybe sooner than what he would have? But is it going to be hard hitting the ground running in the Premier League? I think that's probably my only, to come in as a young man. But he seems to be somebody that's full of confidence and belief in his own ability, though.
I think he will. I think he'll come straight in and be in the fold. You look with, because no Solanke, Richarlison's having to be changed. You've got Dane Scarlett, who's come in. He was on loan at Oxford early on in the season, played last week in Europe, and he scored his goal. So I think it's an absolute no-brainer for Spurs.
They had to get someone.
What's that?
They had to get someone.
Yeah.
They had to try and bring some positivity around. There's been so much negativity around the place for recent months because the results, and they've been plagued by injuries, and Ange has had so many challenges along the way. He gets one back, and now you hear Dragison's done his ACL, and it's like another long-term injury. So it's been challenging. They'll come out the other side. Big game on Thursday night, which I've got everything crossed for. I might need it going to Anfield. Could be interesting, but I think it's a real positive signing for him.
Yeah. Young player at Bayern Munich, has been linked with Arsenal, has been linked with Manchester United. And it looks like he's going to Tottenham. Is this something of a coup for Spurs?
It is. It didn't look like it on Friday. He wasn't interested. He said he would rather go to Man United, Aston Villa.
Would that worry you?
It wouldn't worry me. It wouldn't worry me. He's just done a U-turn, and as it happened, probably those other clubs maybe couldn't get the deal done. If he goes and signs for Tottenham, he has to be committed to Tottenham. That could happen all the time with loads of transfers with young players. He's exciting though. I've seen him at Bayern Munich. He can't get in the team. They've got Harry Kane in there. He's not going to get in there. Got Elise, you got Gnabry, you got the likes of Kingsley Coman, Leroy Sané. It's always going to be difficult to get into that squad, but it's exciting for Tottenham. They needed a number 9 to compete with Dominic Solanke, but he can, as Dor said, he can play anywhere across that front three. I think it's a really good signing, not just for now, for the future as well. Don't judge him after 3 or 4 games. Tottenham fans, don't judge him after that. He's a young lad. He's coming to the best league there in the world, so it's going to take time to adjust. But I think it's a really exciting signing for Tottenham.
From Manchester United's perspective, I mentioned they were apparently interested. That interest ended apparently because Bayern wanted a £5 million loan fee with no buy clause in the deal. I think the talk is this would be a loan to Spurs with the option then of a permanent deal in the summer. Chris, is this a player you think Manchester United should have pursued more vigorously?
You don't know what's going on at Manchester United. I mean, they played a midfielder up front at the weekend ahead of their 2 strikers. I don't know. I mean, when you look at Manchester United, they're scrambling about trying to get something to work, but they are struggling.
Do they need more experience? They've got 2 young strikers up front already.
Yeah, they have, but I mean, none of them played at the weekend. Kobe Mainoo started as a main striker, another youngster. So where does that leave the strikers? They must be looking at it saying, there's a midfielder starting up front ahead of me. And I mean, the whole weekend, shall we say, has been a little bit strange. You went, I'm not going to Tottenham, then the next minute it looks as if it's Man United. Now I'm back at Tottenham. There was links with Arsenal there as well. So, look, at the end of the day, I think Tell's obviously decided that Tottenham's the best move for him. It gives him the best opportunity to go and probably get regular football. I think it's a lot easier to settle in London as well. So, I mean, he'll be looking forward to the challenge. And I'm sure, with Ange Postecoglou, as you mentioned there as well, with the attacking style of play that he's got, it's a good opportunity for the kid to come in and start scoring goals.
Spurs looking to do some late business tonight to a team that has kept us very busy this month, Vicky.
Indeed. It has, because it's Aston Villa and their transfer window has been full of twists and turns, hasn't it? It's not over yet, despite the signing of Marco Asensio. Let's cross live to Villa Park and speak to Kirsty Edwards, who's been there for us all day. So good to see you, Kirsty, as always. Asensio is in. Do you think that's the end of the matter as regards to people coming into the club?
No, I don't think Villa are done just yet. They've been trying to get a centre-back in, and they are working very hard to get a deal for Axel Disasi over the line. It's a name we've heard a lot today. Certainly this morning, he looked a good bet to be heading to Villa. Certainly we knew that he was keen to come here, but the deal was on and off. We at one point looked like he was going to Tottenham, then to neither club at all. I think the issue has been the negotiations between the two clubs, between Aston Villa and Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea were keen to see him go to a side that they see as direct competitors for a Champions League place. There were issues over the financial details as well, but it looks like they have been sorted out, and Villa could well make another signing, another loan signing, the third in 2 days before the deadline tonight. So we'll wait to see if there is an official statement from them. It's important because, of course, Diego Carlos left for Fenerbahce earlier in the window. They're short in defensive options because of injuries to Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings as well. So, yeah, Axel Disasi could be the man. The club are working hard to get this deal over the line before tonight's deadline.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Kirsty. And whilst Kirsty has been talking, Kaveh Solokol has joined me. You're right.
I was just driven from Stamford Bridge.
Well, all right, calm down. Catch your breath. You're all
Normally
right.
when I go to a football game, I like to actually stay and watch the game.
Well, I know, I'm sorry, but actually it's 1-0 to West Ham at the moment, as I've been told. Or have Chelsea equalised yet?
Have they?
I don't know. My thing won't update. My phone won't update. No, they haven't. It's still 1-0 to West Ham. Anyway, that's not why you're here. I know you've been at the Bridge all day, but what's happening there at the moment? Because Axel Disasi, is he on his way? What's going on?
Yeah, look, Axel Disasi, big things were expected of him when Chelsea signed him 2.5 years ago for, I think, around 35, 40 million pounds. But he's basically been told that he can move out on loan. His representatives have been in talks with Aston Villa and Spurs. I think Chelsea were quite keen for him to move to Spurs because they see Aston Villa as a direct rival for a Champions League place. But I think the player himself preferred to move to Aston Villa. And that is now been agreed. He's moving to Aston Villa on loan. Villa are paying all his wages. They're also paying a loan fee of around £5 million. It's actually quite interesting because the sort of senior people at Chelsea didn't really know what was going on with Disasi because they'd left it to him and his representatives to sort out a loan move. They told them what they would accept, and Villa have now agreed to pay what Chelsea wanted.
He's not the only one that could be leaving as well. But we know Maresca was, not necessarily trying to trim everything, but trying to get the players that he really wants at Chelsea.
Some good players have left.
Yeah.
Carney Chukwuemeka has signed on loan for Borussia Dortmund. He wanted to go to Borussia Dortmund. He had lots of other options. Ben Chilwell, very, very close to moving to Crystal Palace on loan. No option or obligation. It will just be a loan until the end of the season. The other one to really look out for is Joao Felix. I mean, this guy, a couple of years ago, people were saying he's the next big thing in world football. He's the new...
He came back and he'd returned. So
he's been at Chelsea twice.
Yes.
He came in the summer. A lot of conspiracy theorists were saying, it's strange that he's coming to Chelsea from Atletico Madrid at the same time as Chelsea are trying to sell Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid. So I'm not sure what was really going on there, but he hasn't been playing regularly in the Premier League for Chelsea. He wanted to go to AC Milan. There were reports that he was in Milan last night, apparently watching the Milan derby. Now, this evening, Sky Italy are telling us that he's just arriving in Milan tonight. And I think he will be moving on loan again. Milan will be paying a big loan fee, I think probably around £5 million, and they will have an option to buy him in the summer.
All right, you can settle yourself down. You're done for now. Thanks, Kaveh.
Let's chat about Villa with our guests then. Rashford in on loan, Asensio in, Marlon in from Dortmund. And if they could bring Disasi in as well to strengthen at centre-back with Mings out injured particularly, would that complete a good window for them? A very good window, an excellent window? What would you say, Chris?
Very good, very good. Obviously, if they can keep Ollie Watkins as well, that doesn't look as if anything's got to materialise there. Lost Duran and got a lot of money in from him, and it looks as if they spent it wisely. I know Rashford because he's been here and the other ones, but I think the Asensio one for me could be a shrewd bit of business. When you look what he achieved at Real Madrid, yes, he played a lot last year for PSG. It's not really happened this year for him, but it's a good opportunity, a good age, 29-year-old, want to come and show that he's, I mean, how many Champions League winners' medals has he got? So he's not coming here, you know, he's experienced, and he could be a big signing for Aston Villa going forward.
Yeah, on that and on Rashford, and no denying some of the great times they've both had in their careers, Clinton. But Rashford's not kicked a ball since mid-December. Asensio's played 7 minutes since early December. How much of a difference can they actually make in the space of what is really 3.5 months?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Jules, but they'll get up to speed. They will get up to speed. They'll be training and play, you know, arrange games and stuff like that. But they'll be all right. Essential. They both look after themselves. They're both professionals at the moment. You okay?
Sue's cracking open a tinny already?
Yeah, you're all right, Sue? Sure you're okay, Sue?
Just enjoying the show.
Okay, just enjoying it. But yeah,
it is water. I should stress it's
she's
water.
celebrating. She's celebrating.
Not even started talking about Everton.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think they're good signings, and I think both can come in there and hit the ground running. The thing they've got is Unai Emery is a brilliant manager. I think he'll get the best. I think Marcus Rashford just needs to be loved, and I think he'll get loving from him. But he has to start producing now. This is a club that he said, obviously, when he knew they were interested, he wanted to go to Aston Villa. As I said, I want Marcus Rashford to go and deliver. I want to see the Marcus Rashford that's playing with a smile on his face. But me and Boydie were saying, Asensio's a really good signing. He can play anywhere across that. I don't think he's an out-and-out number 9. So I think that's Ollie Watkins, and no one else will play there. I know he come off with an injury the other day, but he can play anywhere across that front three, even in the number 10 row. I think both of those signings are really positive for Aston Villa.
How big a difference do you think a change of scene could make for Marcus Rashford? Will it be different at Villa than it was in the last year or so at United, do you think so?
I hope so, because I think we all want to see the best of Marcus Rashford, because I think we know what he's capable of. We've seen that when he's gone and produced 30+ goals in a season, and I think, you know, having sort of a manager in Unai Emery who we know can get the best out of players, and he can develop players. He can. I think, you know, players maybe that aren't playing at the potential, you just feel, can he bring that out of him? And yeah, I really hope it does work for him. So I agree with the guys. I think, you know, Aston Villa have had a decent transfer window. I think if they can bring in a centre-back as well, I think that will certainly help. But yeah, from a Marcus Rashford perspective, I just feel, I think he came out initially, didn't he, and said, I want a new challenge, I want a fresh challenge. Then I think when a manager comes out and, I suppose, criticises you publicly, that's difficult, isn't it? And then I think as time then went on, I was thinking, is he going to actually stay? Because he then came out and said, actually, Manchester United are a better team with Marcus Rashford in there. So it was quite bizarre how all of that happened. So I think for him as a player, and for the club Manchester United as well, because if he goes to Aston Villa and does really, really well, then obviously that's going to, you know, add money to if they do sell him.
I think it has to do well.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not worked from now in a few months. You know, and there's been 2 or 3 managers as well, and we all speak about Unai Emery and the job that he's done at Aston Villa, and he's seen as, you know, someone who can develop players and make them better. It's over to Marcus Rashford. Yeah. He's been given a lifeline here, because it could have been quite easy if he'd move abroad as well. It's difficult to settle in. You know, it's not far, Manchester to Birmingham. It's got an opportunity to kick on.
It's over to Marcus Rashford. It's over to Vicky. We've got breaking news.
Oh, yes, very similar we are. Right, Ipswich needed to address an issue, didn't they, with conceding goals, and there is some breaking news surrounding that. Paul Gilmore has got the details. What can you tell us, Paul?
Well, Vicky, Ipswich have signed a goalkeeper. Alex Palmer has joined from West Brom. The deal is 3.5 years, taking him to the summer of 2028. An initial fee of £2 million. It has the potential to rise to over £4 million with add-ons. And it was a key area for Kieran McKenna because they've had some struggles there. Orhan Muric is badly out of form. Christian Walton is injured. And Palmer is viewed as a really consistent and experienced performer. He's very popular with West Brom fans. And he has a lot of experience. And so he comes in. We're expecting him to actually play right away. He's coming in to be right in contention and to really put that stake that claim for the position even when Walton comes back from injury. So he's just come from the Championship. He has no plans to go back there.
Certainly hasn't. OK, brilliant.
Alex, welcome to Ipswich Town. How's the day been?
Yeah, hectic, but that's football. I think it's an exciting time for me to embrace a new challenge. So yeah, excited to be here.
I mean, it's great that you're excited to be here. It must have been with a heavy heart that you left West Brom, of course, because you spent so long there.
Yeah, of course. I think when you spend that amount of time somewhere, it's obviously going to be a hard decision, but I felt it was the right time for myself and to try a new thing and take a new pathway, and I think that's all part of life. And I've had a great time, met some great people at West Brom, and I wish them all the best. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to a new challenge here.
What about this pathway and challenge excites you?
I think you see it as a club that's going places and on a good trajectory, and everything that I've heard about the manager is nothing but positive. So coming here and being part of the group that's achieved a lot of things in a short space of time is really exciting.
Ipswich did also look at central midfield and striker options today, but the right deal didn't become available, so we understand that Alex Palmer is their fourth and final signing of this January window as they now embark on this relegation battle in the second half of the season. But the good news, they did keep Liam Delap.
Yeah, that is great news for them, isn't it? Thank you ever so much, Paul. Right, stay with us. Coming up, Manchester City have been the big spenders this month, but is there still more to come? Right, Chelsea, the subject of plenty of transfer activity today, but they are taking on West Ham at the Bridge right now in the Monday Night Football that's live for you right now over on Sky Sports. And it's Chelsea who've just brought things level against West Ham. Jarrod Bowen put West Ham ahead in the 42nd minutes, but it's Neto who's brought them level. They had to check it for VAR as whether Cucurella got an edge on it in terms of the assist, but it looks like he didn't because he would have been deemed to be offside had he, but I don't think he did. So that means that the ball went in the back of the net, courtesy of Neto, and they are 1-1 at the moment. 68 minutes gone on the clock.
Now, Manchester City's spending is all set to continue if they can beat the deadline to bring in this man here. This is Nico González, the midfielder. Let's get Ben Ransom's updates. Ben joins us live from City. Ben, good evening to you. Where are we? An hour and a half just over to go till the window closes. Anything for City fans to worry about at this late stage?
Well, Manchester City fans are having to be very patient, but when you've waited 7 years for a major signing on a winter deadline day, what's another hour or two? Well, hopefully it won't be 2 hours because we'll have missed the deadline, but we understand this move's still very much on for Nico González. Now, he's a player that City have coveted for a long time. They first looked at him and tried to sign him, would you believe, when he was a 14-year-old schoolboy playing at La Masia, the Barcelona academy. Now, since then, he's matured through Barcelona and made this move to Porto, been there some 18 months, and he's really impressed in that central midfield role, and City have been looking at him, keeping track of him. They've obviously clearly liked what they've seen, and I think their focus on this central midfield position that has been a priority for them since Rodri's ACL was focused and sharpened probably after that defeat at Arsenal yesterday. So they had one more day to try and do business. We know they first spoke to Porto a few days ago about this move. Initially, Porto's fee of €60 million, that's around £50 million, that's the release clause in González's contract, was deemed too high. But I think at this stage in the window, the opportunity to get one more signing through the door to give Pep Guardiola the best possible chance of finishing in the top four, qualifying for the Champions League, and maybe even still lifting a trophy and turning what's been a pretty torrid season into a relatively successful one. That opportunity seems too good to turn down. It is a waiting game. We understand the player's had his medical. We're waiting for a confirmation, the final parts of this transfer to be put together. City looking to beat the clock to get one more over the line.
Ben Ransom, thank you very much indeed. And as and when that deal is confirmed, City fans, we will let you know, of course. Let's see what our panel think about it. Michael, 3 big money signings combined, what, £130 million already through the door this month for City. Would he be the final piece of the jigsaw? Would he make them top 4 certainties?
I mean, you see how Manchester City have been in recent weeks. I saw them, I covered them when they blew Ipswich away, and people are saying they're the back. No disrespect to Ipswich. And then you see them after that, and you see them yesterday. I mean, it was concerning. And this is where Manchester City are. I still think they'll be in the top 4. They've got enough to get in there, but I just... It's damaging. I'm disappointed. I'm sad that where Manchester City have gone in such a short pace of time. And you look, is it down to one player? I go, is it all down to Rodri? I just look at the team, they just look like they've got no legs. As soon as the team sits in a counter-attack like Arsenal did yesterday, they just absolutely look broke defensively. Opportunity after opportunity against the better teams. And if they play Real Madrid and play in that way, they will get absolutely destroyed, because we can say how good they are going forward at times, but then out of possession, they haven't been good enough. And when you talk about Nico González coming in, the young kid, Cousinov, I mean, his first 4 minutes, I was sat home sat here actually, weren't we? We were watching it between our fingers, thinking, wow. It's a long way back for Pep Guardiola at this moment in time, because teams are improving, and I think for Man City it's a challenge. You're going to improve, you try, but when you're playing with Bernardo Silva and Kovacic in the middle of the park yesterday, it's just... Bernardo Silva, as great as he's been, he's got no legs anymore. He's the creative player, but you need energy in the Premier League. You need to be able to get around the pitch. And so that won't finish Manchester City just yet. They've got a lot of rebuilding to do.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Mr. González, could you come in and fill the boots of a Ballon d'Or winner, please? Because we're missing him. I mean, Sue, it's a lot of pressure on him to step straight into that role of that defensive midfield. I think he can play further forward as well, but how much did they need to address that position?
Yeah, they did. I think we knew that Manchester City would be busy because of the injuries, because of, you were saying, the older players, and they were coming towards the end of the contracts and things like that. But you looked at who they brought in, 2 young defenders, so you think, well, that's maybe for the future. Yes, you can see them sort of developing and gradually putting them in and out. But then you look at Mamouche and you go, well, yeah, great signing, looked brilliant on that first game that I watched him. He looked electric at times, maybe not so much the other day. But then you looked at the key position that they needed to strengthen, and that was in that holding midfield role, because no matter what you say about the different players that they've missed, Rodri has been a huge miss in there. They've got the technical players, they've got the quality, but they just don't have that legs, they don't have the presence. They miss him from a defensive perspective and going forward. So, yeah, it's a lot of pressure on a young man, 23 years old, but I think you've just got to back yourself, haven't you? You've got to go in there and back yourself.
Jules, they've signed well. In this window, they've signed well, and they're doing younger players. He's a young player. What he has to realise is that whoever they sign, as soon as Rodri's fit, he's not playing. Unless there's be times where he plays with him. They need it. Dorse made the point. Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, fantastic footballers. But Arsenal overrun them in midfielder. And Cole Palmer's just scored, and my fantasy team is flying. Woo! Cole Palmer. But it is a good signing, Jules.
Do you know the only thing I'd say, though, with him coming back, Rodri, is the ACL injury. It's just like, how long's that going to take to get back to your absolute best? So I think
it's been a really poor 6 months for Manchester City. You can go on about, you know, their decline on the pitch. But very rarely over a period of time has Manchester City and the recruitment staff got it wrong. They've got it wrong not to do their business in the summer. I mean, they must have been able to look at this and say, listen, there might be an opportunity that 2 or 3 players could become at the end of their Manchester City careers, not their career, but the way that Pep Guardiola wants to play, it was probably coming to the end. They should have identified this in the summer. They're now, signing players that were probably earmarked for this summer. They're now having to move it forward and pay more money for them. Listen, for Manchester City, when you think of some of the money they've brought in, it's nothing to them. But I don't think that Pep Guardiola would have wanted to spend as much and brought as many players in January when he started this season off. But because of the performance on the pitch, he's been forced to.
Do you think he should have done more business? I think he should now. I know you say he's brought in there. I think he had to have brought a right back in when Kyle Walker went out.
This will be £180 million worth of business this month.
No, I don't think they need to panic there, Dawson, because the players that in January you don't sometimes get the players that you want. So you're right. I think they would have identified these players. They do their business quite well, Man City, months and months ago. But I agree with you. They do need a right back, because Núñez is not a right back, and that's for me is where Man City are struggling. They're struggling all over the pitch, but in particular there. But I think the business, they've probably done enough business. They'll have to go again. They're not winning the Premier League title, but as you said, they'll finish in the top 4.
I think so.
Yeah. Guys, we need to move on. We saw Chris Boyd do the celebration. Vicky can give us the details.
Yeah, I'm doing the celebration as well. It's Cole Palmer, isn't it? I mean, they were 1-0 down, Chelsea, but now they are 2-1 up, courtesy of a beautiful goal from Cole Palmer in the end. In fact, it went to Wan-Bissaka because it took a wicked deflection off Wan-Bissaka in the end, so it's been given to Wan-Bissaka as an own goal. But it was off the boots of Cole Palmer, who started it. So Chelsea 2-1 up in that game at the moment at the Bridge. The home fans going wild at the moment, enjoying Cole Palmer all the way there, as was Chris Boyd. Oh, it's not cold here, though. It's heating up, isn't it? We're counting down to the transfer window shutting. After the break, we're going to be live with both Arsenal and Brighton. Stay with us. Right, let's get to Arsenal then. Of course, they thrashed Manchester City 5-1 yesterday, didn't they? But plenty felt that Mikel Arteta would bring in a forward this window. Gary Cottrell is at the Emirates Stadium for us. 5 different scorers, though, yesterday. So I guess there was a question, do they really need a striker, Gary? Is there going to be any late business, do you think, for Arsenal?
Well, Vicky, and I hope Jules is watching, because unfortunately I'll have nothing to contribute to his beautifully written and beautifully presented end of window poem that he delivers just before 11 o'clock, because deadline day here at Arsenal has come and almost gone. The January and a little bit of February winter transfer window has come and almost gone, and no ins and no outs. And of course that means for Arsenal fans, so many of who wanted that instinctive goal scorer to try and turn second top scorers in the Premier League to top scorers in the Premier League, second in the Premier League to winning the Premier League and picking up silverware, that isn't going to happen. The hierarchy here did try, the recruiters here did try, they've been trying all day, but they just couldn't find the right fit, they just couldn't find the right deal in this window. And so now attention turns, which I think was always plan A, to the midterm, to the summer, to try and bring that kind of player in. So I'm afraid nothing for Arsenal fans to look forward to, apart of course from Jules's poem.
Yes, well, Jules's poem, if he does it, we might have sacked that off for this year. But anyway, we'll find out. You have to stay with us and find out. It's always brilliant from him and always brilliant from Gary. Let's find out about Manchester United now, because it has been a relatively quiet transfer window for them. And our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy, has been at Old Trafford for us all day. Good to see you, Melissa, as always. Matthias Tell could have been a Manchester United player, couldn't he? But he looks like he's joining Tottenham now. What went wrong then for Manchester United, do you think?
Manchester United had spent the entire window canvassing forwards domestically and around Europe, and Tell was one of the players they were interested in. They spoke to Bayern over conditions of a deal, and what the Bundesliga giants wanted was a £5 million loan fee, which United felt was exorbitant for a young player that's still relatively untested. And included in this loan fee, there was no buy clause in the deal, so no option nor obligation. So United felt that they would be paying a substantial fee to take on a player, give him development over the next 6 months for Bayern to profit from, because they could sell him for a hefty fee in the summer, and potentially another competitor to profit from if Bayern chose to sell him to a Premier League rival or any other top European team. So it seemed, from United's perspective, a lot of money and work on their end for little reward long term. And the club have been quite conscious to be more sensible and financially responsible in the transfer window. They do not want to repeat mistakes of the past, mistakes which have gotten them in this situation, both with their on-pitch performances and just the poor form they've had in recent seasons, and then also the financial situation they're in. So they don't want to panic buy, they don't want to get themselves caught up in deals where they're just trying to get someone in for the sake of numbers, for the sake of how it looks visually, whereas down the line they end up paying for it.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, Melissa, but I bet the fans wouldn't, and maybe even Ruben Amorim perhaps wanted to put his own stamp on this squad and bringing in more players. How would you summarise their window?
The club are quite comfortable with the work they've done. I think it's very understandable from the supporters' perspective and from Ruben Amorim's perspective if there's a feeling that they are short in attack because they've let Marcus Rashford and Anthony leave on loan. Yet, with those outgoings, the club feels like they've trimmed the wage bill and they've helped themselves in terms of future planning. So if both Rashford and Anthony do well on loan and United can get them off the books, that helps them create and implement Ruben Amorim's blueprint fully in terms of the transfer window. It arms them with more funds. From their perspective as well, the one thing that they really wanted to do in this January window was sign a left wing back. And they did that in Patrick Dorgu from Lecce. And that deal for them was on very good terms. They wanted to pay less than £30 million. They did that because of their players' desire to join. And they've also felt like in terms of creating that pathway for the first team and filling that with talent, they've brought in Aiden Heaven from Arsenal. And that's a longer term drive that they have to just make sure their pool of talent is stocked. So I think United fans, perhaps some of the first team, the manager himself, would have liked there to be more business. But I think Amorim is also very, very much on board with being a lot more sustainable and thoughtful in what they want to do moving forward. And he knows that in the summer, he will be backed properly.
OK, all right, brilliant from you. Thanks, Melissa.
Let's go to Brighton now. They've brought in a striker today, but could there be more incomings before the deadline at 11 o'clock? Our reporter, Chris Reedy, is there. Chris, hello, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jules, we started off nice and busy this morning at Brighton. A £20 million striker came in. Stefanos Zimas from Nuremberg. He's going to stay at Nuremberg until the end of the season. The 19-year-old is on a contract till 2030. But look, for the next hour and a quarter, there is one more deal that might happen here at Brighton. It's looking increasingly unlikely as the time gets nearer to deadline. But Tommy Watson, 19-year-old winger from Sunderland, reported at the start of the day that Brighton were working on that deal. They had an initial bid of 8.5 million rejected earlier in the window. Now, the sticking point today really is Sunderland looking for a replacement. Earlier on, they bid for Casey McAteer from Leicester. That was turned down. They asked for Simon Adingra from Brighton in exchange on loan to the rest of the season. Brighton said, no, thank you. We're keeping him. He's a key player. So, yeah, look, that's the sticking point. Sunderland trying to find a replacement for Tommy Watson. Brighton are still trying to do that deal, but with not long left to go. Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Chris, live at Brighton. Thank you very much indeed.
OK, stay with us. Plenty more to tell you about this big transfer deadline day. 1 hour, 14 minutes to go of it. Stay with us. Coming up, a couple of teams at the bottom end of the table. Everton and Southampton will be with those clubs next. OK, just to bring you a bit of breaking news, you remember Kaveh Solokol was here with me just a few moments ago talking about Joao Felix, and now he has arrived in Italy to complete his loan move from Chelsea to AC Milan. Milan are going to pay his wages and a £5 million loan fee until the end of the season. You remember he came, didn't he, last August after he signed that 7-year contract to move back to Chelsea for the second time from Atletico Madrid in a £45 million deal. That was only last August, but he's on his way now to complete his loan move from Chelsea to AC Milan. He's arrived in Italy. OK, what about Everton? Well, they're flying, aren't they, under David Moyes? 3 wins on the bounce, and there could be even more good news at Goodison. Let's go live to Anton Tolui, who's at the club's training ground for us this evening. Good to see you, Anton. Is this deal close for Carlos Alcaraz right now?
Yeah, I'm told it's expected to be confirmed before the deadline. Carlos Alcaraz, he was here yesterday having his medical. He's obviously on Merseyside. Personal terms have been agreed for a loan deal with an option to make it permanent. And a big indication that that deal is set to go through before the deadline is the fact that one of Everton's rising stars in the same position in his attacking midfield, in Harrison Armstrong, has been allowed to leave the club on loan. He's joined Derby after signing a new 3.5-year deal. So there has been one signature at Everton today, but that's internally. We're waiting externally for the signing of Carlos Alcaraz, which should be confirmed before the deadline.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Anton. So before the deadline for that one, perhaps. Let's talk about Southampton now, because they're another club looking for help in this relegation battle, aren't they? Mark McAdam is the man in the know for Southampton. Let's go and find him then at the club's training ground. Good to see you, Mark. Lovely coat, by the way. Look, Mark, Ivan Juric needs reinforcements, doesn't he? Is he going to get them?
It certainly doesn't look like it at the moment, despite the lights on in the training ground behind me. The hopes of signing someone on deadline day are diminishing by the minute for Southampton. Our colleagues Sky in Italy have reported in the last hour that their charge to try and sign Abakar Sailer from Strasbourg has collapsed. So Ivan Juric, desperate to sign a defender in this transfer window. He likes to play three at the back, so he wants at least 5 or 6 in his squad, so he's got options. But the 22-year-old Ivory Coast international isn't going to be heading to Southampton. So the chances of Ivan Juric making any signings on deadline day now seem very unlikely. I think the biggest wish for Southampton fans would be some points. They got 3 points against Ipswich. I don't think they'll be adding to their squad today with, an hour or so to go until the deadline closes. But one other piece of news from Southampton is that Gavin Bazunu, the club, are in talks with Standard Liège about him going out on loan for the remainder of the season. Hasn't played at all for the first team, despite making 41 appearances in their promotion campaign from the Championship to the Premier League last year under Russell Martin. So Gavin Bazunu out of the back door at Southampton. But unfortunately, Vicky, seems like there'll be no one coming in the front door.
OK, thank you very much, Mark.
Empty chair. Yeah, understandable considering the company. Sue's decided to bail. No, Paul thinks had a bit of a coughing fit, and we've used all our substitutions, so we're going to play with 3 for a while. Vicky's offering to come on, but...
Up as a substitution.
Well, you can come in if you want.
I'd be a very poor one, so I'll stay here. It's fine. I'll just watch.
OK, you stay and watch. OK.
Thanks.
So let me ask you about Everton. Looks like Carlos Alcaraz, not done yet, will be the only new player through the door. What do you think, Chris?
He's a good tennis player.
You're waiting all night for that.
Is there another one?
There is, the one that was at Southampton.
Oh,
remember?
yeah. I mean, I think for David Moyes, listen, when you look at the last 3 results as well, you know, to get the 3 victories in a row, the confidence will be high, but you will want to add a couple of players, and if he can get them in, it could make a big difference. You look at Everton going forward, they'll need that little bit more creativity. Yeah, I think that's going to be a decent signing.
Obviously, Beto scored a couple at the weekend, but Calvert-Lewin's injured. Trimity's not ready to come back yet either. Bro is still injured. Are they looking light up front?
They are looking light, definitely. Broyer's good, though. They've managed to keep him because I thought he might maybe have gone back to Chelsea. There was rumours there.
They're hoping he might be back a bit sooner
than expected. Yeah. Calvert-Lewin could be probably long-term because of his hamstring, but they do need to strengthen up front. I feel if you want to stay in the Premier League, you're only as good as your centre-forward. But I do think Everton have been all right, as Boydie said. The 3 wins under David Moyes have been fantastic. Everton don't have to worry. They start looking up the table. They shouldn't be looking over their shoulders. But Alcaraz is a good signing. But I think a couple more bodies would help them, wouldn't they, do?
100%. When you lose Mangala, you talk about Calvert-Lewin, it's your squad. You need a group of players that, all right, he's probably now thinking, we're nearly there, we're nearly going to be safe. And I thought they would when David Moyes came in, but you need some bodies just to give everyone a lift. Alcaraz, I mean, he's got energy in midfield.
Working that tight net group.
Yeah, you're right.
He's good.
But if you keep losing players, eventually you're going to leave yourself so light. I think Mangala's been a big miss since he's come in, and then last week ACL, am I right? And you've lost him for the season.
And you know what, Dos?
McNeil, another player that's just had an operation.
But do you know what? I don't even know why Sue left, because it's positive about Everton.
Should have loved to have talked about it. I know.
Should have loved to spoke about Everton, isn't it? It's all positive.
Bad
Usually
timing.
It's not positive, but it's good positive. So keep smiling, Julian.
I've got about 30 seconds. Another team, well, Everton have started to pull away from trouble. A team who want to do just that, Ipswich. Chris, Godfrey in on loan, and Ciso from Brighton, Philogene from Villa, Alex Palmer now a new goalkeeper in. Has this been a good window for them in 30 seconds?
It'll have to be. You know, I thought Ipswich should have got out it, but now I'm swaying more towards it. They're going to struggle to stay up.
Even with those reinforcements?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, the goalkeeping situation, yes, they've strengthened that, but they keep giving away cheap goals. I think Ciso could be a decent signing for them, but the games that they've lost recently, they've got to be picking up points from them, especially at the weekend as well. When you look at Southampton's record, especially away from home as well, that would have been one that they've been looking to say.
They needed to bring a goal.
Come on, Sue. Everton's over. Come on.
She's back.
Come on.
Welcome back.
Got your water, Sue.
Well done.
She's back.
She's back.
Relax, everybody. Sue's okay.
Sue, the problem
Welcome
is
back.
we've finished talking about Everton.
Sue, we'll speak to you in the next hour.
OK, perfect.
Have a few more minutes. Get yourself better. Thank you.
Lucky that Sue is back within the fold, because I would have been rubbish as a substitute. Just to bring you bang up to date with the Monday Night Football, it has finished now 2-1 to Chelsea against West Ham at the Bridge. No Chelsea manager, it's been a previous Chelsea manager that's come back, has ever won at the Bridge. Graham Potter couldn't do it tonight either with West Ham. OK, we'll keep you up to date with loads of stuff that's going on. We've got Axel Disasi choosing Villa over Spurs. Marco Asensio going on loan to Villa. We've got Nico González trying to get over the line to get from Porto to Manchester City. And we've got more from Tottenham as well. Of course, that big deal for them with Matisse Tell. We'll bring you across everything. That clock is now ticking down. 1 hour and 3 minutes to go. We'll see you shortly.
Tottenham's deal to sign Matisse Tell from Bayern Munich on loan will include an option to buy.
Manchester City close to completing the signing of Porto midfielder Nico González. He's undergoing a medical.
Aston Villa announced the loan signing of Marco Asensio from Paris Saint-Germain.
And Chelsea defender Axel Disasi is closing in on a loan move to Aston Villa.
Hi there, this is Deadline Day. Great to have you with us. We are now into the final hour of the January window as clubs scramble to complete their deals in time. And we are, of course, across it all for you.
We certainly are. There's plenty bubbling under with the minutes ticking down, quite literally. We'll be live to our reporters across the country for the very latest for you.
And the Deadline Day surprises continue. Willian was in the crowd watching Chelsea beat West Ham, but is he on his way back to the Premier League to rejoin a former club? Details coming up.
Ipswich have made a huge signing in their bid to avoid relegation. They brought in West Brom keeper Alex Palmer.
And just 5 months after joining Chelsea, Joao Felix is on his way back out and is on the verge of sealing a loan move to AC Milan. But we start the final hour of the 2025 winter window with some breaking news. And it concerns an outgoing from Crystal Palace. Let's head to James Savundra, who's outside the Palace training ground. Hello, James. What can you tell us?
Good evening, Jules. Well, Crystal Palace fans will be hoping of confirmation of news of an incoming in the next hour. But here's some news of a confirmed outgoing at Crystal Palace. It's Rob Holding, the centre-back who joined Crystal Palace in 2023. He's made just one appearance for the club, no appearances in the Premier League. But he's moved to Sheffield United on loan until the end of the season. He's not been part of Oliver Glasner's first-team plans. At the same time, it looks like Jeffrey Schlupp is close to joining Celtic on loan until the end of the season. He's been undergoing a medical in London. And I mentioned Ben Chilwell. We understand that deal is very close. Ben Chilwell close to becoming a Crystal Palace player until the end of the season. A loan deal agreed between Crystal Palace and Chelsea. We understand it's a loan with no option or no obligation to buy at the end of the loan spell. Crystal Palace had been looking at potentially signing a centre-back at the end of this transfer window. It looks unlikely they've been able to do so at this stage of the window, which means that with Mark Gay staying following that bid that was denied by Tottenham, that they'll have just 3 centre-backs, 3 recognised senior centre-backs to complete the season with. So it's going to be a risk for Oliver Glasner's side because they play with 3 at the back, just 3 recognised centre-backs to complete the season. But they're flying high right now in the Premier League following that victory against Manchester United yesterday. So Ben Chilwell very close to remaining and becoming a Crystal Palace player. Rob Holding confirmed now as a Sheffield United player until the end of the season.
Good stuff, James. Thank you very much indeed. James Savundra with all things Palace. No doubt about the saga of the day. There's always one on Deadline Day and night. It's Matisse Tell, his proposed move to Tottenham that could become a permanent one. It is still not done, though. We're into the final hour before the deadline. Eleanor Roper right across it for us. Hello again, Ellie. Any updates?
Yeah, we understand that Tell is likely to be the final senior signing for Spurs this window. Now, we do now know that he'll be coming to Tottenham on a loan with an option to buy. There have been lots of discussion around this earlier this morning, reports coming out of Germany that this would be a straight loan. But after many hours of negotiations, it now looks like Tottenham will have that option to buy the player. Now, we mentioned to you earlier that Radu Dragusin has suffered an ACL injury. He's set to undergo surgery later this week. There had been talk about whether Spurs would bring in another defender with this further injury news, but it is looking very unlikely with just an hour to go. And it is looking like Tell will be their final senior signing of this window. So we wait for that final confirmation, but he is set to join Tottenham Hotspur from Bayern Munich on loan with an option to buy.
Eleanor, thank you very much indeed.
I love it on transfer deadline day because people just come onto set and literally say, I've got some breaking news, and I don't get told what it is because it's just so immediate. So you've got some breaking news.
Yeah,
what is it? Tell me.
Interesting, this one, because it is Fulham about to re-sign, potentially, one of their former players. He was there between 2022 and 2024. Yeah. Brazilian, left on a free transfer, went to Olympiacos.
Was he at Chelsea, Stamford Bridge
tonight? Became a free transfer at Olympiacos, please. And the answer is...
Willian?
Willian, yes. There's a deal that's agreed in principle, we think, between Fulham and the representatives of Willian. We think there might be a formal announcement, but not until tomorrow, potentially. We don't think, we're just checking on the rules properly, but we don't think Fulham would be tied down to the deadline because he is a free agent. So there's no contract to break as such. Right. He left Olympiacos at the end of December. And, I mean, Fulham, he did so well for them. Marco Silva, he's played under him for that period of time he was there. Loved them. They loved him at Fulham. Yeah. Looks like he could be on his way back.
OK, so sort of staying sort of London-ish back. Anyway, what about Manchester United? You've got an update there as well. There's plenty going on there today.
Well, I mean, with Manchester United, it appears that they're not going to bring in the forward that they were maybe targeting throughout this window. We know that Marcus Rashford left, has gone to Aston Villa on a loan with an option. There could be, though, one more departure. Now, we told you at the start of the window, they may be available to listen to offers for Tyrell Malacia, provided they brought in a left wing-back or a left-back. That's happened. Patrick Dorgu has come in from Lecce for a deal worth just under £30 million. Real Betis expressed an interest in Tyrell Malacia. That didn't materialise. Benfica expressed an interest in Tyrell Malacia, but that broke down because they didn't meet the conditions that Manchester United wanted. And now it looks like he's on his way to PSV Eindhoven. Wow. There's an agreement in principle, we think, or it's getting close between the two clubs. But again, this one doesn't have to be done until tomorrow because the Dutch window has got 1 day extra to run compared to the one here. And I think what United will look at here is he had 18 months out injured. He's just come back. He's not really a first-team player. He's been making most of Amorim's squads, but not really forcing his way into the team. He's still got 18 months left of his contract, and United have got a one-year option. So if they could do a no-risk, straight loan until the end of the season in a league that he's very, very used to, because of course he came from the Dutch league, and if he performs well, plays regularly, he could come back to United, maybe become part of Amorim's plans, or enhance his market value if they want to sell him in the summer.
Which makes sense, because that's what they're trying to do, isn't it? It's all about the money. OK, thank you as always, Dams.
We're going to speak more to my panel very shortly indeed, but we're going to hear from Enzo Maresca in a bit as well. Chelsea are back into the top four after their win against West Ham. He'll be talking to us, hopefully, about potential departures. Could be lots of them tonight. You've heard about Chilwell to Palace, Joao Felix to Milan, and Disasi potentially to Aston Villa. That's where we're heading next. They've been extremely busy this window. It's not over yet. We're keeping an eye on Disasi. And, of course, they've also brought in Marco Asensio in the last couple of hours as well. Let's get the very latest from all things Aston Villa with Kirsty Edwards. Hi, Kirsty.
Hi there. Yeah, it was about 14 hours ago now. I was stood here talking about Axel Disasi. At that point, it looked like a good bet. He was coming here to Villa. Then it all went a bit quiet. The deal looked to be off. It looked like he could be going to Spurs. But it very much now looks back on. I think Villa always been his preferred destination. The issue has been the talks between the two clubs and them coming to an agreement. I think Chelsea were reluctant to let him go to a club that they see as direct competition for a Champions League place. Also some issues about financial details. Now, this is a player who played a lot under Pochettino at Chelsea, but not so much under Enzo Maresca. So hoping to get some more football here at Villa if they can complete this deal. And Unai Emery has certainly wanted to bring in a centre-back because Diego Carlos left earlier in the window to go to Fenerbahce. He's got a couple of injuries at the moment to Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings as well. So potentially the second loan deal of the day here at Villa, the third in 2 days as well. So, yeah, lots going on, but we wait to see if they can get this deal done over the line before tonight's deadline.
Thanks very much indeed, Kirsty. Not the only team waiting to see if they can get a deal over the line. Takes us to Manchester City. Their spending is set to continue if they can beat the deadline to bring in Nico González. Let's get back to Ben Ransom. Ben, any update for us on González?
We are still waiting. Patience, the watchword for Manchester City fans. I mean, look, it's been a fantastic transfer window, hasn't it? Ziki Begiristain, his 12th year here, 12th and final January transfer window, already delivering a number of big-name signings for the first team to help Pep Guardiola. We're still waiting for them to land the final one. We're counting down, aren't we, to that deadline now. And look, as far as Nico González is concerned, we know that there were negotiations this morning between the clubs. Porto standing firm on their wanting €60 million, £50 million for his release fee, and the discussions centred around, it's my understanding, the structure of the payment City would pay. Let's not forget to add an extra dynamic to this. Barcelona will be owed 40% of any transfer fee once we get confirmation. I just wonder with this one, Porto obviously are playing tonight. There's still 25 minutes left of their game against Rio Ave. 1-1 that game is. You just wonder whether their media team might just be waiting until that game's over until we get any announcement, because we know that González has had his medical. We understand that personal terms were not an issue. We're just waiting for confirmation from both clubs. Could it be linked to that game? City fans will certainly hope so, because we are still waiting as we enter the final hour.
OK, Ben, we'll be back to you as soon as there's more news. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, as Ben said, 48 minutes of that final hour to go. No incoming business for Newcastle this evening, but they have completed quite a significant departure from the club, which could free up some money. Let's find out what they'll do with it. Keith Downey is there for us. So, look, as I was saying, Keith, Lloyd Kelly's move to Juventus means that they potentially finally get busy in the summer transfer window, do you think?
Yeah, Vicky, it's obviously too late for them tonight, but look, I think they'll stockpile their resources for the summer and have a real go at it there. You must remember Newcastle haven't really added significantly in the last 3 transfer windows, and it prompted Eddie Howe a couple of weeks to say here in his press conference that they have the potential of becoming a bit stale, and that is because they've been unable to add players who can come in and affect the starting 11. One of the new signings over the last year is Lloyd Kelly, who you rightly say left tonight, just 2 hours ago, completed a loan move to Juventus until the end of the season, with an obligation for that to become permanent in the summer. Newcastle will net £20 million from that deal. A good deal for the club, given the fact that they brought him in for nothing under freedom of contract, having left Bournemouth in the summer. But yeah, as I say, they haven't done much these last couple of windows, and I think they are keeping their powder dry until the summer. How much do they have to spend? We don't know yet. Eddie Howe, again, was asked that last week. He said he didn't want to go there just yet, but it feels very much like a recalibration for Newcastle. They're kind of starting from scratch again, and it'll be interesting to see, one, which of the big name players they can hold on to in the summer, and two, if they can build on that moving forward. Because I think there's a frustration amongst the supporters that they've got themselves high up the Premier League. They're knocking at the door, of course, a potential for winning silverware this season, but we're seeing results like the one against Fulham at the weekend where they lost 2-1 at home. So a quiet window for Newcastle. The departures of both Kelly and Miguel Almiron for the combined fee of £30 million, and that will give them much more room to manoeuvre in the summer ahead.
Yeah, it certainly will. Thank you ever so much, Keith.
Let's have a chat about Newcastle and start with Lloyd Kelly. Michael, well, same home kit, so that won't be confusing for him. But what about this as a move from Newcastle to Juventus?
Wow, dream move. I think he was a lucky boy in the summer to get a big move from Bournemouth. And you can talk about timing, free agent, and you would probably say to Newcastle, look, why not? It's not cost you anything, probably cost you a few quid in wages. And he's gone up there and unfortunately he's had very, very limited game time. But a chance to go to Juventus and play for a football club like that, and then with a view to making it permanent in the summer, Newcastle, if it does happen, for £20 million that you signed for free and has hardly kicked a ball, good business again. But for Lloyd Kelly, I mean, what an opportunity, what an experience to go out there.
In terms of incomings, just checking out on the Sky Sports website, which has all the deals listed, ins and outs, next to in for Newcastle, nothing. So here they are, a couple of points off the Champions League places, or the top four at least. It might be fifth this season, but top four. Couple of points, tantalisingly close to being back in the Champions League. And we think, for PSR reasons, unable to bring anyone in. How frustrating is this for Newcastle?
Oh, it must be so frustrating. And I think we've said that on numerous occasions, haven't we, when they had all of those injuries and we were saying it'd be great if they could just bring players in. But obviously because of financial constraints, they can't do that. And we always look at teams, don't we, in the bottom half where they're trying to get out of relegation, saying, well, they need to bring in players to try and get themselves out of trouble. Similarly, if you're in and around that Champions League spot, you may just need the extra couple of players that just take you into that slot, because they've been on, a brilliant run. They had, I think the defeat to Fulham, wasn't it? And you just think, like, if they had those extra players, that extra little bit of quality, that maybe they could rotate and change when they need to. But it is all about finances, unfortunately.
If Eddie Howe could have strengthened Clinton, where do you think that area would have been for Newcastle?
Centre half. You saw in the summer he was desperate to get Mark Gahey, so I think he'd wanted to strengthen in numerous positions, but I think centre half in particular, and probably another centre forward, because Callum Wilson's been injured for quite a long time, and I think they have missed him. And if Isak picked up an injury, you're thinking who can go and play through the middle. So I think them two positions. But I was just saying to Boydie there, he'll probably be disappointed because it's PSR ruling that he can't bring anyone in. But I said maybe they go again in the summer. Boydie made a good point. They have to, but they have to be playing Champions League football, because to keep the likes of Isak, Bruno Guimaraes, who wanted, and even Tonali, who's been outstanding for them, that wanted to play top four
Everyone wants
football.
forwards, though, don't they?
They do want
That's
to.
a problem.
Yeah,
I've got two cheap ones for him.
No, but Callum Wilson is a good one.
There you go.
He's on form.
They're not desperate.
Oh, what did you say? Did you
Nothing.
say not desperate? Have you ever seen us play?
That's the first one he's cracked into you.
Not bad for you, Dawes.
Somebody's teed him up for that one, that's for sure.
I think I'm ready to come out of retirement.
See, for Eddie Howe in Newcastle, though, when you look at it, I mean, you speak about the injuries he's had defensively, but midfield and attack, they've been okay. And he'll be saying touch wood that they don't pick up injuries. But Isak has now been injury-free for a period of time. Hence the reason why Newcastle on such a terrific run. The midfield three have been, as good as anything in the Premier League. Yeah. I think Anthony Gordon, people maybe questioned that, the signing at the time, but he's been an excellent addition. But the one for me is Jacob Murphy. I mean, I think, I don't think they'd expected the level of performances that they've got out of him. They take nothing away from it, and now he's on the verge of an England call-up. I mean, that was the links a few weeks ago that there was going to be potential for a call-up, and I think you've got to give enormous credit for the job that Eddie Howe has done, because it wasn't so long ago he was under pressure. He's turned it around. He'll probably be looking at the last two home games, and it could have been a lot better. But I mean, losing to Bournemouth. It's the run that they've been on recently as well. But the way Newcastle at home, you'd expect them to get it. And Saturday, I felt as if you covered them. Saturday was a big blow for them. You'd expect them to win that game. But you kind of get the feeling the summer's going to be huge for Newcastle.
OK, guys, thanks very much for now.
OK, stay with us. 42 minutes left of this window. We're going to hear from Enzo Maresca after his victory over West Ham tonight. We're also going to pop up to Manchester to see how Manchester United have got on in this window. Relatively quiet for them. And has Vita Pereira got any more through the door for Wolves? Stay with us. I feel like I'm catching you out this evening. It's all right.
It's been a long day.
I know, but it's not too long to go. 38 minutes.
38 minutes.
Now, and it's counting down for you and for me. Look, it is busy though, isn't it, Calvin? You're doing lots of things behind the scenes as well. But you're joining me on set now to talk about Joao Felix, I think, just to put a bit more flesh on the bones. On
yeah,
that.
look, Joao Felix, he's not happy at Chelsea. He's got one of the best agents in the business, George Mendes. He must have got on the phone to George Mendes and said, George, not happy at Chelsea. I'm not playing. What's going on? Get me a big club where I can play. I'm one of the best players in the world. I want to go to AC Milan. George Mendes, of course, he's got great contacts at AC Milan. It so happens as well that the AC Milan manager, Sergio Conceição, is one of his clients as well. So he has organised for Joao Felix. You can see him there arriving in Italy. He will sign on loan for AC Milan. AC Milan are actually paying quite a big loan fee for an Italian club, around £5 million, and paying all his wages.
Wow.
And I think they will have an option to sign him in the summer. He's the kind of player that he doesn't want to be sitting on the bench at Stamford Bridge all season. He wants to be playing at San Siro. He wants a big stage. Milan have signed Kyle Walker. They've got Joao Felix as well.
A fella in the crowd tonight at Stamford Bridge, because you were there. Did you see him there, Willian?
Yeah, Willian stayed for the game. I left. I had to leave it.
You had a job to do today, Carly, dare we say.
I had to interview Gary Neville, and then I had to get out what everyone was getting in.
Well, sorry about that.
It's not easy leaving a football ground when there's 40,000 people arriving, but I managed it. But yes, Willian is at Stamford Bridge. We've managed to speak to his representatives tonight. They've told us he will have a medical at Fulham tomorrow. And they're saying to us he had lots of offers from lots of different clubs, including lots of clubs in this country, but he wants to go to Fulham. The reason he wants to go to Fulham is he's played there before, he loves the club, he loves working with Marco Silva as well. Interestingly, he could have waited until the window closed this evening, and he feels that he would have had more options tomorrow because he's a free agent. So clubs who'd missed out on signing people during the window could still have signed him. But he said, no, I'm not interested in anybody else. I want to go to Fulham. He'll have his medical tomorrow. And I'm being told that he is 100% match fit.
Wow.
He's always a kind of player who's incredibly fit, very rarely misses games through injury. So he'll have his medical tomorrow and he'll be ready to play for Fulham immediately.
I bet they'll be delighted, the Fulham fans. OK, thank you very much. You can go back to what you were doing and then just come back in a minute. Thanks, Carve.
Vicky in bossy mode, transfer deadline day, as usual. Give me daggers now. Let's move on. Let's head to Manchester United. No incomings today. Might it have been different? Let's get the answer to that question. Our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy, is at Old Trafford for us. Evening to you, Melissa. Matthias Tell looks to be joining Tottenham instead. Could he have been a United player?
He could have. Manchester United were definitely interested. They engaged the players' representatives and Bayern Munich over the conditions of a deal. And they didn't like what they heard back. Bayern wanted a £5 million loan fee, which United felt was exorbitant for a young player still relatively untested at the highest level. And the deal also included no buy clause of any kind, so there was no option nor obligation. So United felt they would be paying this big loan fee, give the player game time over the next 6 months, and they would ultimately be developing him for Bayern's profit and for whoever Bayern would sell him to in the off-season. And that didn't feel like a reasonable or a sensible thing for them to do. And while the club did try to get in a forward, they spent the entire window canvassing options in England and across Europe to see what potentially could be done. They also do not want to put themselves where they panic buying, making the same mistakes they did in the past in terms of recruitment. The errors which have led them to the situation where their on-pitch performance is struggling and they're financially struggling. So it might not be sexy or exciting. It's definitely not interesting to report on. but they feel that this approach, being more responsible, is going to help them in the long run. Now, United came into this window with two major aims. The first was getting in a left wing back. That was the ultimate priority. They did that with Patrick Dorgu from Lecce for just shy of £30 million, which is the highest fee they wanted to pay for that position. So good work done there. They also needed to find a resolution to the Marcus Rashford situation. They've done that. The player gets a great move to Aston Villa, a chance to resurrect his career. There's a buy option of £40 million in that deal. So they've done really well there. Also, Villa paying the majority of his wages. The same case with the Real Betis and Antony's loan. So they've trimmed the squad, trimmed the wage bill. They've also brought in Aiden Heaven from Arsenal as part of their drive to litter that pathway to the first team with talented youngsters. So from their perspective, they feel that they've done really well. They definitely would have liked more. Ruben Amorim would have liked more, but they're quite conscious of where they are financially and what they need to do longer term. I think they've got their eye on the big prize, and if they blew their budget in January, it would restrict them in the summer, where the proper rebuild for Ruben Amorim will begin.
Melissa, thank you very much indeed. What do we make then of this window for Manchester United? Let's start with the fact that just a few days ago, Amorim Clinton started with Kobbie Mainoo as a false nine. Hardly a ringing endorsement of Højlund or Xerxes. Should they have signed a striker this month? Can you believe they haven't?
Well, I can't believe they haven't, because it's going to cost a lot of money for them to bring the striker they want to there. I think everyone knows they want Victor Gyökeres, but he was never leaving Sporting Lisbon in this January window. Let me tell you something, me and Boydie were talking about. If me and Boydie...
We don't speak, mate.
We do speak. We wouldn't be sitting on the bench. If I'm a centre-forward, Højlund or Xerxes, I'd be gutted that Kobbie Mainoo, who's a very good player, is playing as a false number 9. He says he sees something different. That is very... You're not Man City. Definitely, Man United are not Man City, so you can't afford to be playing with a false number 9. So it was disappointing, but that's what Ruben Amorim thought was the best, and they ended up losing to Crystal Palace. Great result from Palace. But, yeah, the business is where Man United are at the moment. They're not shopping. If you think about it, what was it? 2 or 3 years ago, they were interested in players like Harry Kane. And now they're not interested in players like that, because that is where Man United are at the moment. The recruitment, but it has not been good enough at the moment. And we could see that when Ten Hag was there and the players that he's brought in, they haven't been good enough. What Man United should have done is not stuck with Ten Hag, brought Ruben Amorim in the summer and gave him that money what they gave to Ten Hag and brought in his players. So now they're going to have to suffer a bit, Man United, until they get back to the good days. Go on, mate.
Yeah, but even you speak about, strikers. Tell, obviously, that didn't materialise for whatever reason. They didn't want to pay the loan fee. But, I mean, £5 million to the end of the season is really nothing for Manchester United to maybe get them into a position there. The other one that I can't believe that Evan Ferguson.
Yeah.
You could quite easily have tied something into that further down the line for Brighton to do a deal if, he goes there and does well, and it would have been good for all parties. If West Ham can attract somebody like Evan Ferguson, surely Manchester United. They've not fallen that far. I know that they've obviously got the links with Potter and he's worked with him before and he's maybe looking at an opportunity to come back. But, Evan Ferguson would have done a better job than what Manchester United have got right now. But you look at Manchester United and they're struggling. And, Martinez is now injured as well. They've just... You speak of Manchester City with the lack of pace that they've got, Man United are the same.
Yeah, we talk about that, Boydie, but when you go and play Mainoo as a number 9... That blew my mind yesterday. Yeah. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Honestly, you've got Xerxes on the bench, you've got Højlund. Have they been good? No. But you still, for me, I don't think you can play Mainoo as a number 9.
But I think when you look at the two strikers and, when you're playing that role, you're looking to hold it up and link the play. And the pace they had with Ahmed and Garnacho, maybe, dropping in and then, inverted, trying to get through it. But it just didn't work. It didn't work, and they were linked.
Number 9
somebody linked him with the Crystal Palace striker as well. Who was it?
Oh, Matete.
Yeah,
that was. But his real name is Mateta. That was the magic man. But the Mateta won't be going there. He's happy at Palace. Stop trying to link our players, Paul Merson. Away, thank you.
I've just got a screen in the studio here, and Monday Night Football's on. And you're on, I think you're on 2 channels. You love that, Clint. You're on more than 1 channel at the same time. This is the dream for you.
Of course it is. That's
what usually happens.
We love the airtime. Come on, mate. You were on it as well, so you were looking at yourself.
It's my debut on Monday Night Football.
There you go. You've made it, George. You've made it. Give him a round of applause.
Right, let's leave that and stop feeding our egos and let's talk about Wolves. Still have a couple of irons in the fire as the deadline approaches with less than half an hour to go now. Dan Khan is at the Wolves training ground for us. Hello there to you, Dan. What's the latest on a couple of players, Marshall, Monetsi and Nasser Diga? Can you tell us anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I've been reporting all afternoon and evening, both of these players have been in Paris undergoing their medicals because both of them have logistically come from quite far away. When you start with Nasser Giga, he's come from Serbia, he's from Red Star Belgrade, who are absolutely storming the Serbian league, leading it by 19 points. He's also featured in the Champions League. And really, as a centre-back, Nasser Giga, really much needed reinforcements for Wolves at centre-back. They've already signed Emmanuel Agbadou, a centre-back, this window, and they're doing that with Giga as well. Really much needed when you think Wolves lost Max Kilman last summer. They also lost Yersin Mosquera to a long-term injury for the rest of the season as well at centre-back. Vitor Pereira very adamant that he would have to bring in a few defenders this window to play his 3-4-2-1 formation as such. And when you talk about Marshall Monetsi, he comes from Reims, where they signed Agbadou from earlier in the window. Midfielder, again, Vitor Pereira very adamant they wanted a midfielder this window. Somewhat different profile to what they already have in Andre and Joao Gomez. He's a bit bigger, more physical, dynamic. He can also cover the ground perhaps a bit quicker than those other two in terms of his stature as well. But as I understand it, both deals in no question about getting done before the deadline. But as I mentioned, both not being done here in Wolves, but in Paris. I'm not sure if it's as cold as down here in Compton, but as I mentioned, no worries, Wolves fans. We saw what happened with Kevin Danzo over the weekend. A medical was booked. He ended up going to Tottenham, but Wolves have acted decisively and quickly to get 2 other players in before the deadline. Really now just waiting for those official announcements to come in later tonight.
And moving from incomings to outgoings, will they be saying goodbye to a former captain, Dan?
Yeah, well, actually, Jules, all the talk today was about a potential move for Conor Cody, perhaps returning from Leicester. That ended up not really moving forward past initial talks. But as you mentioned, a former captain who is to depart is Mario Lemina, the midfielder who we've seen at Southampton and Fulham previously in the Premier League. Now, he was captaining Wolves for much of this season until we saw those incidents after their loss to West Ham last month, or I should say in December, when he was involved with West Ham captain Jarrod Bowen. He was then stripped of the captaincy after that. He then told Vitor Pereira he wanted to leave the club. He since then apologised, so this has turned into a bit of a saga, but he apologised, made himself back available for Wolves until his future was resolved. But it feels like Wolves have found a resolution to that. Lemina expected to join Turkish giants Galatasaray in a deal just under £3 million. Lemina's contract was out in the summer, so that makes sense for all parties, I think. A sensible conclusion for everyone involved. So 1 out. It looks like 2 in for Wolves. They're always busy on deadline day. I love it. That's why I'm always here. Bring on the deadline.
Well said, Dan. Great to have you there as always. Thank you very much indeed. So, a couple more players could be coming through the door before the deadline. Sue, they're, a couple of points above the bottom 3 now. Are they doing enough to stay up?
Well, I think they had to do something. I think they had to do business. And, how many times have we said about Wolves where they sell their best players and then they don't replace them with sort of adequate enough quality. So I think the big thing for Wolves was keeping hold of Cunha as well. I think Vitor Pereira come in and you could see that he had that initial bounce with them. Then the sort of defensive vulnerability started to come through again. And, I think strengthening in that area was key, but then also that they've got that quality going forward. And I think Pereira's had to deal with a few... It's been sort of man management, hasn't it, off the field with the Lemina situation where he didn't want to play, then he said he was available to play. Obviously, he's going now. And then the Cunha situation where he said his body language wasn't quite right. So he's had to do a lot of things off the field as well, whilst trying to keep his side in the Premier League. But I think they'll have enough Wolves.
The 3 teams below them in the bottom 3 are the 3 that came up last season, despite the fact that in the summer Ipswich spent 126 million, Southampton 109, Leicester 82. How hard is it, Michael, for the teams that come up now from the Championship to try and establish themselves in the Premier League?
It's getting harder. I think we see with the three teams that went down last year, Luton were the third bottom with 26 points. We were just chatting, weren't we? I think I got relegated with 35. It's a million miles away. So it's getting harder and less points are keeping you in the Premier League. I think it's going to be exactly the same again now. I look where Everton are, 26 points. Wolves had a huge win at the weekend against Aston Villa. And I echo what Sue said. Agbadou come in, very strong defender, but the biggest coup for them is keeping Cunha. If Cunha goes for me, that was trouble. But I think it's three from the four that are going down, and it's getting hard.
Just quickly, Chris.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for the ones that are coming up, because you look at Forest, they went about it and spent loads of money. You either do that and then run the risk of going down, and then you're left with all the players in the Championship, or you do it like a Brentford or a Brighton, but their recruitment policy is very difficult to copy. So, I mean, it is getting tougher and tougher every single year.
Guys, thank you very much indeed for now.
OK, stay with us. We had a Monday Night Football, didn't we, this evening, as Chelsea beat West Ham 2-1 at the Bridge. We're going to hear from Enzo Maresca and Graham Potter as well. Graham Potter, very interestingly, says you never know what happens in a window, so stay tuned to that for West Ham fans there. As Big Ben is about to chime 11 o'clock. They've got to get their business done. We're going to be live to Everton next as well, so stay with us for that. Some breaking news now. It's a busy day here, of course, on deadline day. We've got two for the price of one. Carvey and Dalmash join me now. So I don't know who's going to start this breaking news, but story of the day, Matthias Tell. Dalmash.
Yeah, it looks like it is agreed basically between Tottenham and Bayern Munich, where Matthias Tell will go to Tottenham on loan until the end of the season. And there is an option to buy Matthias Tell for, we think, around 60 million euros, which is around 52 million pounds. On Friday, Tottenham actually agreed a deal for a permanent deal with Bayern Munich. Everything was agreed, but Matthias Tell said, no, I actually don't want to go. I would prefer to go to either Manchester United, Arsenal or Aston Villa. They didn't pursue their moves for Matthias Tell. Ange Postecoglou then got on the phone, spoke to Matthias Tell personally, had a long conversation with him, convinced him that Tottenham was the place to be, and he changed his mind. And then earlier on today, we had that picture of Matthias Tell and his agent on that flight, and that's when all the flurry of activity began, and it was he's on his way to the UK, landing at Farnborough Airport, and now on his way to Spurs.
It's quite the U-turn, isn't it? How will this be seen by the Spurs fans, do you think?
Do you know what? I was saying this yesterday. I'm not sure whether initially he turned down Spurs.
OK.
I think initially what happened is he had this offer on the table from Spurs, but he was hedging his bets. His representatives were saying to him, look, hang on a second, there's a possibility of you going to Manchester United, there's a possibility of Arsenal coming in for you. So I think that is what he was doing. He was just assessing his options. But unfortunately, I think Bayern Munich were asking for a big loan fee, said to be around £5 million. And clubs like Manchester United did the maths and were like, we don't want to spend £5 million just to put a player in the shop window for Bayern Munich when we're not going to have an option to sign him. But obviously, Spurs have seen something. For Spurs, it makes sense. They need him. And that's why they've decided to do the deal. From my own personal point of view, I want to see this guy play because we've spoken about him so much. And to be honest, we've all got to be honest. 3 or 4 weeks ago, not very many people had heard of him. Or
I had.
You'd heard of him? Had you seen him play?
A couple of times, yeah.
What, live?
Decent. No, not live, no.
On YouTube?
But when we're talking about Manchester United and Arsenal, though, these guys would have seen him. When you're talking about Manchester United and Arsenal...
He's played 200 minutes this season.
You've seen that? When you're talking about Manchester United and Arsenal, though... When you're talking about Manchester United and Arsenal and why they maybe didn't pursue the deal, because I think there will be a lot of Arsenal and Manchester United fans who knew that their team were after a striker and they've seen Tottenham bring in Matthias Tell on loan and said, why haven't we done this deal? Well, Arsenal could argue, well, we want a goal scorer. And look, he could do brilliantly at Tottenham. But the stats aren't great for Matthias Tell. In the last 16 months, he scored 4 goals. 4 goals in 16 months. And if you look at Manchester United, they've got Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund, who haven't been banging in the goals for them so far this season. And so they would probably want a more experienced striker to come in to help the likes of Zirkzee and Højlund. Matthias Tel is actually younger than both of them and has scored less goals than both of them. So maybe that was a factor why Arsenal and Manchester United probably thought, look, we like the look of the player, but probably not for us in this window.
And Chelsea as well.
Chelsea started it off, didn't they?
Yeah, Chelsea started it off because Bayern Munich wanted to sign Christian Nkunku from Chelsea. That was all agreed. Yeah. But Chelsea wanted Tel. Tel didn't want to move to Chelsea at that point. I think that is the point of the window where everybody started talking about Tel. Everybody woke up to the fact that he was available.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some stats. 83 appearances for Bayern, 16 goals and 7 assists. So not a lot, and I don't think he was fancied with company either. So, I mean, there we are. So he makes the 3rd appearance for Tottenham because they've got Kevin Dancer as well and the keeper as well, Kinski as well. Look, in terms of Willian, where are we with that then? That's all kind of settled now, yes?
It's close now. There's an agreement in principle, we think, between Fulham and Willian for him to return to the club. He spent 2 seasons there, 2 successful seasons there, went to Olympiacos, and he was actually at Olympiacos for only a brief amount of time. He actually left there at the end of December. So he's actually a free agent now. And we're expecting a formal announcement on that from Fulham tomorrow because they're not strictly tied down to the 11 p.m. deadline. Because Willian is a free agent, I think they've got until the end of the week to be able to secure that deal. But we're expecting something in the next 24 to 48 hours.
He's going to have his medical tomorrow. He had lots of options. Lots of other clubs were interested in signing him, but he wanted to go to Fulham because he's played for them before. And also, he really enjoys working with Marco Silva. And we're being told that he is match fit. He's ready to play.
Pass that medical with flying colours.
Yeah, let's hope he passes it now after what I've been told. But I've been told that he is 100% fit, raring to go. Even though he's 36, he's still got a lot to offer at this level. And he was at Stamford Bridge tonight watching one of his former sides. Chelsea beat West Ham.
36 is no age, as we well know. Thanks, guys.
Right, to a couple more clubs that are looking to get players in before 11 o'clock. We'll get to Manchester City in a moment. First, to Everton. Carlos Alcaraz's proposed loan move is going right down to the wire. Let's get to Anton Tolui live now. Everton fans, Anton, have been waiting all day for this one. Have you got any news for them?
Well, all day haven't we been saying that Carlos Alcaraz will be an Everton player before the deadline, but this one is going late because going into the final few minutes of the deadline, the deal between Everton and his club in Brazil, Flamengo, still hasn't been signed. Now, there's been a broad agreement for quite a while about a loan deal with an option to make it permanent. He's passed his medical, he's on Merseyside, ready to go as soon as it's signed, which means, obviously, we're getting late right up to the deadline. So that means it's going to have to be signed off by the Premier League. So even if this deal is agreed, it's then going to have to be ratified by the Premier League. So they're going to have to ask for extension, Everton. They've done that before when they signed Armando Broja on deadline day back in September. So this one might well take a little bit of a while after the deadline to be confirmed if it does get signed.
Anton, thank you. Manchester City, big spending Manchester City, going to need an extension. Are they going to get another deal done before the window shuts? Ben Ransom, the man to tell us. He's waiting for news on Nico González, as we all are, Ben. Come on then, what's the very latest?
Yes. It's been a waiting game for Manchester City fans, obviously, since we felt there was a breakthrough in negotiations between the clubs at around lunchtime today. And since then, we've been obviously waiting for news of Nico González's medical, which he had out in Porto, in Portugal, and also waiting for news that there has been a defined, definite agreement signed, sealed and delivered between Manchester City and Porto. Well, Porto have been playing tonight in the Portuguese league. They've just finished. They've played out a 2-2 draw with Rio Ave. So that would mean that obviously the playing side of things are done. The media team possibly have been waiting for the first team to finish that match. Of course, we know that initially Nico González was due to be in that squad. He wasn't involved in the squad tonight, of course, as he finalises this move to Manchester City. So with around, 10 minutes of this window still to go, we're still waiting for that confirmation. As soon as we get it, we'll bring it to you live.
Thank you very much indeed, Ben.
Yeah, look, Darmish is still with me because it says 10 minutes on the clock, though, but sometimes things kind of happen after the 11 p.m. deadline. Tell us why.
Yes, so it's the famous deal sheets. So if clubs have got so far with the deal, but it's coming up to 11 o'clock, between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock on deadline day, they can fill in a deal sheet. That's a document that has to be signed by both clubs and the player involved that shows an intention that they're going to complete that deal. So once they've got all of those signatures, and it has to happen between 9 o'clock and 11, it can't happen before because people will think you're playing the system and they're trying to just give you enough time to do it. There has to be some sort of reasoning, right, we've done most of this deal, but between these hours, we can sign this deal sheet.
What could delay it then? What sort of things delay that deal sheet?
As long as the main part of that deal is done, so you've got everyone in the room or it's been done remotely and you've got the signatures of everyone involved to show you've got the intention to complete this deal. It has to be signed between, like I said, between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And if it is, then that gives you an extra 2 hours for domestic transfers until 1 a.m. In the morning to complete that deal and finalise all of that paperwork, and an extra hour if it's an international transfer. So yes, 9 minutes to go in the window, but there are so many deals that feel like they're outstanding at the moment. We just spoke to Ben Ransom just there about Nico González. He could be one of them. There could be a number of deal sheets that will be going through to the Premier League as we speak.
Yeah, so it's like when they go home, all this lovely lot here, me and Jules stay and you stay.
We'll still be here.
Working really hard.
Yeah.
Back to you lot. Just saying.
Yeah, real workhorses here in the studio. Let's head to Stamford Bridge now, where Chelsea have beaten West Ham in the Premier League tonight 2-1. But are they still up for more business? Let's hear from Enzo Maresca speaking to David Craig.
No, you haven't had your mobile phone by you while you've been in the dugout, but it's the end of the transfer window in a very short while. What are you able to tell us about your understanding of the business you've done? Players have left the club. Anybody come in? We understand you've made at least one signing.
To be honest, I was completely focused on the game, and I'm still thinking about the game now. After we're gonna sit and we're gonna see what's happened, but yeah, it's finally tomorrow is finished everything.
Well, if you need to know, Sky Sports News is on. You'll catch it. They're doing a deadline show. You'll find out everything.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any Chelsea news, we'll bring it to you. What about West Ham then beaten tonight? But they have brought in Evan Ferguson on loan, of course. They recalled James Ward-Prowse from Nottingham Forest early today. Let's hear from their boss, Graham Potter.
Last reporter to talk to you about the transfer window. Literally an hour or so to go. James Ward-Prowse, we know. Evan Ferguson. Is there anything else you're aware of, hoping of, or is the window closed at West Ham United? Is Groundhog Day over?
You never know. You never know. No, I'm sure I can take some more questions, no problem.
Well, I can keep asking him. It's a question of whether you can tell me anything.
Well, I probably won't answer any questions, but I'm happy for you to ask the question, no problem.
Would you like to get something else done? There we go.
No, I think we'll see. You never know what happens in the window, but as you can see from tonight, the performance of the team in terms of the spirit, the togetherness, the understanding of what we're trying to do is there, so we have to build on that.
We're very used to Chelsea being busy on deadline day. It's outgoings rather than incomings tonight. You surprised by that, Clinton?
I'm not surprised. They've done loads of business recently. They've got two teams, one for the Premier League and one for the Europa Conference League. So now they have too many bodies. The only one who I probably thought might have gone is Nkunku to Man United. They were linked to Garnacho. Me personally, I thought it would have been a better deal for Man United. I like Nkunku. I think he's a hell of a player. So he's struggling at the moment because one of the best players in the Premier League plays where he wants to play, which is Cole Palmer. But I think they've got a really good squad. I did think maybe defensively, they could have strengthened defensively and a new goalkeeper. I definitely think they do need a goalkeeper, but I think Chelsea's squad is good enough, and it's a good 3 points that they've had this evening.
Chris, how big a signing do you think Evan Ferguson could turn out to be for West Ham in the final months of the season?
Big. I think, we speak about Marcus Rashford having to get his career back on track. Evan Ferguson's had a few niggle injuries and then he had a bad one in the summer that kept him out there for a period of time. But, he's only a young boy that's probably going out to, an opportunity to go and play football. Maybe Brighton are going in a different direction. But I think that comfort of having a manager that's worked with you, and Potter knows exactly what he can bring to the team. And when you look at West Ham, and we've had plenty of discussions about it, I don't think going forward West Ham have had many problems. If they had someone at the top end of the field, Fulkrug, they brought him in the summer, he gets injured. So if they had a striker, they'd probably be in a far better position than what they are, because they are creating opportunities. Defensively has been a problem for them. They've kind of changed it a little bit since Potter's come in, and they'll be looking to climb the table. But it's a good opportunity for Evan Ferguson to go to a big club and kickstart his career.
Jared Bowen back in the team tonight and scored. And James Ward-Prowse recalled from his loan at Forest and presumably back in the mix.
Yeah, and I think we all know what a top professional he is. So, he'll have certainly been keeping himself fit, and he'll be ready just once game time. So I think from a West Ham perspective, I think bringing him back, that sort of leadership quality that he'll have as well. But I think the Evan Ferguson one's a great one, just because of the injuries that they've got in that position. Fulkrug obviously injured. Antonio, we don't know how long he's going to be out. Bowen can play there. We've seen Paquetá play in that sort of false nine position. But I think just having him, he had a lot of competition. Ferguson as well. He obviously had that injury, didn't he? Then he had the competition, the likes of Ruta, Welbeck, Joao Pedro. So he had to go, and he wants to play football. So I think from a West Ham perspective, two good signings there.
Yeah, and actually almost could you argue for West Ham and for Everton, the most important signings in the last month or so have been the new managers.
100%. Certainly Everton. When you talk about Sean Dyche leaving, who are you going to be replaced by? The experience of David Moyes, the tried, the trusted, the reliable, and he's come up trumps. And then you see Graham Potter, who has been out for just under 2 years since he left Chelsea. Another experienced manager that knows the Premier League, and it doesn't surprise me. Two good appointments for two clubs that were looking over the shoulders, trying to improve. Good appointments.
Big Ben.
Here's a quick look at Big Ben. That tells you we're getting close. It's not New Year's Eve, it's deadline day.
I was going to say Happy New Year.
Well, watch your hand there, mate.
3 minutes, 30 seconds, and I'm just hearing Manchester City have tweeted a photo of the Spanish flag. Ooh, cryptic. You teases Manchester City social media department. It's not, you'd have to be too clever to work out that Nico González is a Spaniard. So, I mean, I think we put 2 and 2 together here, or DOS and DOS together. I think we've got Nico González, haven't we? So it sounds like if they're putting that out there, that González is going to get over the line, even if it needs one of these deal sheets. But Manchester City's window, assuming he gets through, Chris, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on it earlier. They had to get players in. I think it's been a difficult period for Manchester City on the pitch, but go back to the summer. I think obviously. I know you can't go back in time, but if Pep Guardiola had to, I think he would have done a lot more business in the summer and probably been able to have got money for these players that have served them so well for a period of time and moved them on. And you look at Walker leaving and things like that. That might have been able to be done in the summer. Recouped a little bit more money, and move forward from there. But you look at Manchester City, and for all the players they've got, they still don't have a recognised right back, and I still think they've got a long, hard finish to the end of the season. They're in a fight to get that Champions League spot, and they need it. We speak about other teams, needing to get there for the PSR, and Manchester City are no different. You can have all the money in the world. They need to get there to attract the players because they want to go and play Champions League football. And they've done some business in January. It had to be done, but I just think it's a difficult window to be shopping in.
Yeah, and obviously having brought in Marmoush for £59 million, Kusanov for £33 million, Vita Hesh for £29 million. If it is £50 million for Nico González, that takes their dealings to £180 million in the January transfer window, which is double the amount the entire Premier League spent last January, which is quite something, isn't it? But needs must, I guess you could say. Right, Michael, Sue, Clinton, Chris, get ready. We're coming back to you to sum up the window and, of course, for any late deals that are going to be coming through after 11 o'clock. But after 34 days of ins and outs, the winter window is just about to close. Manchester City spent more this month than the entire Premier League did last January. In came Omar Marmoush, Abdelkader Kusanov, Vita Hesh, and in the nick of time, they hope, Nico González, while Carl Walker said arrivederci. John Duran swapped the Champions League for the Saudi League as Marcus moved to Villa. Will Rashford revive his career under Emery, who's also added Marlon and Asensio to his attack? And it looks like Disasi to his defence. Villa busy. Manchester United, less so. Will Patrick Dorgu and Aidan Heaven help? Heaven only knows. Fresh starts for Philogene and for Ferguson, and the return of a familiar face. Jota back on the books at Celtic. And in the WSL, Chelsea broke the world record for Naomi Girma, brought Kira Walsh home, while another Lioness, Chloe Kelly, was also on the move to Arsenal. And we all love some deadline day drama, don't we? Spurs have delivered it with their pursuit of a striker, but will Mattis's move get over the line? Only time will tell. A new year, many new faces, but now the business is done, the squads are complete, and the window is closed. A little wonderful whoop from Vicky in the corner, thank you. But of course, as we always say on deadline day, it is not quite the end, because there is the potential for another signing or two, or 3 or 4 tonight. As long as that deal sheet was in and signed before 11 o'clock, moves can still be completed into the night, and there are significant ones still to be done. So it is worth delaying bedtime a little bit longer, especially if you're a fan of Everton, of Aston Villa, of Tottenham, of Manchester City, which is where we go now. Let's kick off the 11 o'clock hour with Ben Ransom. What can you tell us, Ben?
I can tell you that Manchester City have beaten the buzzer to sign Nico González from Porto for a fee of 60 million euros. It was the release clause which City had to meet when Porto dug their heels in. That's been the nature of the negotiations today, to confirm that fee between the clubs. But I think off the back of that loss, that heavy loss against Arsenal yesterday, City were keen to go back into the market one last time. And what a January window it's been for them. This takes their spending up to £175 million this month. 4.5-year deal for Nico González, 23-year-old midfielder. He's some quotes from him today as well that have just come into me now. This is the perfect opportunity, he says, for me at this stage of my career. I'm 23, I want to test myself in England, and there's no better club than Manchester City for me to do that. Look at the squad they have here. It's unbelievable, full of world-class players. There isn't a footballer in the world who would not want to be part of this setup. I know the reputation Pep has, and I cannot wait to work with him. In fact, I'm honoured he wants me to play in his team. I'm truly excited. I just want to meet my teammates and the staff here, and then I want to play in front of the City fans. And it's been an amazing window for Director of Football Ziki Begiristan. It's his final one here at Manchester City before he retires in the summer. He's been working alongside Hugo Viana, who's coming in to replace him. They brought in 3 major signings for the first team before deadline day, adding a 4th in the shape of Nico González. Ziki says Nico's a very talented young midfielder. He's an ideal acquisition for Manchester City. It was a difficult transfer to complete, he admits, because his performances have been outstanding. He's been such an important part of what Porto are doing this season. We're really happy to have managed to get this done before the window closed, and he's ready to help us in the second half of the season as we compete in the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup and Club World Cup. And that's a really interesting point to finish on. You do feel this City team, this City squad just needed a refresh. They brought in a lot of young blood, a lot of players for the future, but they also now have 5-6 months to bed in before that FIFA World Club Cup in the summer. The likes of Vitor Reich and Abdulkadir Kusanov, Omar Mamouche obviously sparkled on his debut too, but now City fans can get excited about the position they've been trying to recruit for all window. Nico González is a Manchester City player. Just to reiterate, €60 million fee. You remember 40% of that goes to Barcelona. He signed a 4.5-year contract until 2029.
Ben, your patience and the patience of the City fans has been rewarded. Thank you very much.
What about the Tottenham fans then? What about their patience then? Because Mattis Tel has teased us all day, hasn't he? Let's go to Ellie Roper now, who can bring us the latest. Eleanor, what can you tell us?
We wait here for Tottenham to formally announce his signing. The latest we're hearing that he's passed the medical and that the deal is worth £45 million. He will join Tottenham on loan with an option to buy. So 45 million, that's around €55 million. Now he'll sign a 6-year deal if the option is activated at the end of this season. So confirmation expected shortly from Tottenham that he will join on loan with an option to buy, and that deal is worth around £45 million.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Ellie.
OK, so updates there on González, who is a City player, on Matis Tel as well. We'll get updates from other clubs, from Celtic included, very shortly, but we are still waiting to see if Axel Disasi is a villain. Let's head live to Kirsty Edwards. Is he leaving Chelsea for Villa tonight? Is it done yet? Kirsty, what can you tell us?
We're still waiting. The deadline has passed and we don't know yet. Now, is it that Villa have done the deal and they're just being a bit late in giving us the official confirmation, or is it that they're needing a bit of an extension to get everything over the line? We know they were working very hard on this through the day. At one point, the deal was off. They were struggling to come to an agreement with Chelsea. I think Chelsea were quite reluctant to let him come to Villa, the side they see as one of their main contenders for a Champions League place this season. But the player himself was always keen to come here. Unai Emery has been really keen to sign a centre-back in this window, so he will very much hope to see this one getting over the line. It would be the second deal of the day. Of course, Marco Asensio, the forward, joining on loan from PSG earlier today after Marcus Rashford joined on loan from Manchester United yesterday. It's been a very busy time here at Villa. It's gone right down to the wire and beyond. We still wait to see.
Back to you soon, Kirsty. Thank you.
OK, let's get to Glasgow then, as Jules promised. Get some breaking news with Luke Shanley. Luke, it's about Celtic. What can you tell us?
Yes, and Celtic have added Jeffrey Schlupp to their squad on loan from Crystal Palace until the end of the season. The former Leicester man, where he won the Premier League, remember, very versatile, which will help Celtic. He can slot in that left-back role and give Celtic more depth in that area, but obviously many other positions as well. So he'll have that experience, he'll have a bit of pace and power into the Celtic squad. Brendan Rodgers saying he's delighted to be able to bring Jeffrey to the club. He knows that he will love it at Celtic, and he is sure that the fans will love him too. So Celtic making a deadline day signing. Jeffrey Schlupp will be joining on loan from Crystal Palace.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Luke.
Well, Chris Boyd, Schlupp to Celtic. What do you think?
They had to get someone in that era. Obviously, Alex Valle at the end of the beginning of the season, he went back to Barcelona, then went to Como, I think it is, with Cesc Fabregas. So they had to get someone in that left-back area. Schlupp can play there, but he can also play midfield, Clinton.
Yeah, I think his best position is midfield. You ask Schluppy himself. I know him. He'd probably.
Schluppy, yeah.
I know him. I know him, so I'm allowed to say that. So I think he'll want to play midfield. But as Boydie said, they probably need cover at left back, and he can do a job at left back. He did that for Leicester, and when they won the Premier League, so he can play there as well. He's really a good, versatile player. It's a good signing for him, and it's a good signing for Celtic.
There we go. Some breaking news from Celtic. Still a number of deals that we are waiting for. We've heard about Disasi and Tel and Alcaraz to Everton and Chilwell to Palace. What is happening with those? We'll find out as the minutes tick by. We are past the deadline, but deals will still be getting done. Let's just start sort of summing up, though. Michael, I'll start with you. If you're looking at who you think's had a really good month, can you pick a team that you think's had the best window of the Premier League sides?
I'd probably have to say Aston Villa. With Rashford coming in, Asensio, Marlon, Garcia, and if they get Disasi's a must in the defensive area. I also look at Spurs. I think the keeper coming in, and if they can get Tel, that'll be a good sign. Danzo needed to happen as well. So, yeah, I think Villa overall will be delighted.
So, are you surprised at all that Chelsea are willing to let Disasi go to a Champions League rival?
Well, I wondered if that was like maybe the hold-up, if that was the reason for not actually letting him go straight away. Because you look at Chelsea, you spoke about it before, that they've literally got two squads, haven't they? So he has to try and, I suppose, mould his. Well, he has moulded his squad. He said, "This is my squad. This is who I'm working with," and the ones that sort of aren't getting the game time and the regular game time that they want. So I think from a personal perspective, he has to go, doesn't he? He has to go and play football. So maybe that was the hold-up. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Michael said he thinks Villa have had the best window. The biggest spenders, as we said at the top of the hour with González going through, is Manchester City. Clinton, how dependent or how much is resting on him hitting the ground running when you bear in mind that Rodri is still a long way away from returning?
No, but I'd probably agree with those because Villa players that they've signed, we know about them, so we know what they can do. Some of these Man City players we don't know. Mamouche we know, very good signing. I think he hit the ground running in his first game. He wasn't so good against Arsenal, but the whole team weren't as good, so that was disappointing. González has to hit the ground running. It's a different league. The Portuguese league is totally different to the Premier League, and it's the thrust and the bust of playing in that midfield. The midfield is the one where you've got to go in there and you've got to deliver. Because everyone, as soon as you sign a midfielder, all they're going to ever do, City, is compare him to Rodri. Can't compare him to the Ballon d'Or. You've got to give him time to settle. He's still at a young age, but it's a signing they need. They needed to strengthen in midfield. So City have had a good one. But I'd agree with Dawes. I think Villa, for me, probably had the best one. Just because I like the Rashford one. I want to see what he does next. You know, innit, mate?
Innit?
Isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I think they're probably the only two teams that's really done anything that you could speak about, really.
Yeah.
There's been a few, there's probably teams absolutely delighted that have been able to keep a hold of a lot of their players as well. Arsenal might have been looking to bring in a striker. Liverpool have not really done anything. They've not had to do anything.
Do you think for the fifth window or something in a row that Arsenal have been talked about getting a striker in, they haven't? Is it going to cost them ultimately come the end of the season?
I think it was going to be difficult anyway. And there's one thing about Arsenal, maybe in years gone past, that they've dived in and spent money on players that haven't really worked for them. I think they're onto something good right now, Arsenal. If they're going to spend big money, they'll want to do it in the summer. It gives a new signing time to come in and hit the ground running from there, rather than trying to eat into this lead from Liverpool. And it's easy for us to sit here and say if they get a striker, they're going to go and close the gap in Liverpool. It's difficult. I've covered Liverpool the last couple of weeks as well, and Brentford, tough game, go find a way to win. Bournemouth, tough place to go, they go and find a way to win. It's going to be difficult to stop Liverpool. They've got the League Cup during the week, obviously the Champions League as well. They're in a good position, they're confident, they're winning games of football. It's going to be difficult for Arsenal to catch them, but they'll keep going. You've got to say you're impressed with Arsenal yesterday, and they've still got a chance. But you kind of get the feeling it's more Liverpool's to lose than anybody else to win it. If you're asking for a poor one, you've got to say Manchester United. I think you have. You went into it looking, saying you need a striker, still not got one. Your two strikers that you got sitting on the bench at the weekend, and you start a midfielder up front.
They've addressed that left-sided full back or midfield, what they want to call it.
They've got players that can play there. They've been able to do that. You've got two strikers and you're playing a midfielder. That tells me that you had to strengthen in that central role. They've failed to do it.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chris, but we've got some breaking news. It's time for a game.
Man United have signed a striker?
No, not yet. Maybe the summer. But it's time for a game of show and tell. Eleanor Roper, what have you got for the class?
You beat me to the joke, because Spurs have put on their Twitter something to tell you, and I do have something to tell you, because head to their website and it says, "We are delighted to announce the signing of Matthias Tell on loan from Bayern Munich." They say this is subject to international clearance and work permit. The France under-21 international will join the club on loan until the end of the season, with the option to make the move permanent in the summer. He will wear the number 11 shirt. So that confirmation at about 11:10 this evening that Tottenham Hotspur have signed him on a loan. Now, we understand the deal is worth around £45 million. He comes on loan, as we say, and will sign a 6-year deal if the option is activated come the summer. So what a story it's been. We thought he was coming to Spurs. It looked like it had fallen through. Plenty of interest from other Premier League clubs, but he arrived, he landed at Farnborough Airport this afternoon. He's had a medical, he's passed that medical, and the deal is done. He will be heading from Bayern Munich to play for Tottenham Hotspur until at least the end of the season.
Eleanor, thank you very much indeed. And Ellie mentioned the social media announcement by Spurs. Maybe that's what's been holding it up, getting all creative with his involvement in this video, which you'll see for yourself if you want to go onto Tottenham's Twitter. Go on then, Clinton. A player that was wanted apparently and was looked at by a number of Premier League clubs. We've mentioned Arsenal, we've mentioned Manchester United. He has gone to Spurs on loan with a view to possibly joining permanently in the summer. What do you think?
No, he's a good signing. As I say, he's at a good young age. Listen, I thought it was going to be a permanent, but on loan. So he has to see how he does. So it's good. I think it's good for him and it's good for Tottenham as well.
Before you buy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the best way to do, because sometimes you can make mistakes. But I think the young Tell will come in and do ever so well. Take a bit of time, let him bed in slowly but surely. But he's an exciting player. I've seen a lot of him. He hasn't played that much time in Bayern Munich, but when he's been given an opportunity, he can score goals. So Tottenham fans should be excited by that, for sure.
83 appearances for Bayern in total, just 8 this season, but 16 goals, 7 assists.
But most of them, Jules, are off the bench. And when he's coming off the bench, he's coming off for 5 minutes. So please, people, don't judge him on that. He has got ability. Can't get in ahead of Harry Kane. Harry Kane's one of the best, and he's still young as well, still learning his game. So hopefully he hits the ground running. Isn't it, Dors? I hope so.
I mean, lots of talk about Tottenham, obviously, in the last few months as to what happened in the slide down the table. They've brought in a new centre-back in Danso. They've brought in a new forward now. How well do you think they've addressed the issues they had?
Well, I've always said for every football club, January is a hard transfer window, and you look when Vicario gets injured, Fraser Forster came in, started really well and then struggled. Kinski, they went and found. I think he was probably one that had been looking at for a while. They made it happen straight away. Defensive area, when you lose Mickey van der Ven and Romero. I mean, poor Archie Gray got signed, and he's signed for big money. He's played right back, left back, and he's been magnificent to play at centre half, but I don't see that for long term. Danso has come in probably for third or fourth choice, because when Romero and Mickey van der Ven are fit, they're going to play. Ben Davies was magnificent at the weekend. So they've done some good business. They needed to, because questions have been asked. Still in 3 competitions with a chance of winning that. Hopefully I'm saying that on Friday morning as well. Boydie's looking at me.
Till Thursday.
There you go. I was waiting for a comment like that. So, no, positive for them. Good luck to Tell. He's very young. I think he said 80-odd appearances for Bayern Munich. You've got to remember, still only 19. Whether it be coming off the bench...
He's got under pressure to come and start. I mean, I know you're saying give him time, but Tottenham need somebody to come in right now.
Well, they do, because they've got Solanke. They paid 65
Mm-hmm.
million for Solanke in the summer, 60 million for Richarlison. We're talking about players here that have spent a lot of money on. So the players have to take that responsibility as well. We've got some big games coming up, but I think he'll be a positive signing and full of energy.
We've got to move on, because at 11:15 we've got another bit of breaking news for you. We've all been handed these Sky Sports News deadline day bingo cards here in the studio. I'm going to tick a few off now. It went down to the wire. It's a done deal. We can now reveal there's a signing at Crystal Palace for James Savundra.
Unbelievable.
Good evening, Jules. Finally, we can confirm that news that we've been teasing Crystal Palace fans with all day. Ben Chilwell is a Crystal Palace player until the end of the season. He signed on loan from Chelsea. We understand it's a loan with no option or obligation to buy. He's played just 45 minutes of competitive football this season for Chelsea, completely frozen out of the first-team picture under Enzo Maresca, but he provides a vital option at left-back and across the left side of the pitch for Oliver Glasner, competing with Tyrick Mitchell at left-back, a Champions League winner who can bring that Champions League winning experience to a Crystal Palace side with real hopes and ambitions for the remainder of this campaign. We have some quotes from Ben Chilwell as well. He says, "I'm very excited to be here. Crystal Palace is a club that's going in a great direction. It was a no-brainer to make the decision to come here." We can also hear from Steve Parish as well, the chairman. He believes that Ben Chilwell proves to be a great addition to the squad. So Crystal Palace look like they've signed one player on deadline day in the form of Ben Chilwell on loan until the end of the season. They were looking at signing a centre-back. They've only got 3 senior centre-backs right now, but I think they've been unable to do that over the course of this day, and Oliver Glasner will be relatively pleased with what they've done, filling that vacant slot at left-back, something to compete with Tyrick Mitchell, and of course signing Romain Esse earlier on in the window. He wanted 2 signings in January. He's got 2 signings in this window to compete for a decent finish in the Premier League table. They finished 10th last season, hoping to do something like that, maybe go even better. So Ben Chilwell is a Crystal Palace player until the end of the season.
James, thanks very much indeed. Mr. Palace, Clinton wants to come in on that very, very shortly, but we will do that, I promise. We'll react to Chilwell, but instead we're going to keep Sue happy with some Everton news. Anton Salui, we've been waiting on Alcaraz's loan. What can you tell us?
Well, Everton and Flamengo, his club in Brazil, have been in discussions for 3 days, and it is still rumbling on right now, because that is, the dreaded deal sheet has been submitted. So basically Everton have submitted paperwork and asked for a delay, asked for an extension to try to get everything sorted, ratified, and this deal over the line. It's going to be a nervous wait for Everton fans to find out whether everything has been completed on time. At the moment, everybody's waiting to see whether Carlos Alcaraz will be an Everton player, even though the deadline has passed.
Anton, thank you. Back to Anton, if there is any further news with that deal sheet in at Everton. Axel Disasi, we're waiting on to Villa as well, but we know González to City, done. Matthias Tell to Spurs, tick. Ben Chilwell to Palace, tick. What do you think, Clinton? It's your old club.
It's a great signing, unbelievable signing. He's an international. He wants to get back. Thomas Tuchel's the New England manager. He hasn't been playing football. Someone of Ben Chilwell's quality shouldn't be sitting on, not playing football at all. I'm not saying he's sitting on the bench, but he's not been played at all. I don't like the way he's been treated at Chelsea. Maresca went down a different option. I totally get that, but Chilwell's a fantastic signing. He will put pressure on young Mitchell. Mitchell's been, he's a very good player, Mitchell, but he needs some experience. And also, James made a good point. They had to give Chalobah back. Riyad, the other centre-back, is out for the whole season. They brought him from Barcelona. They've only got 3 fit centre-halves. That's how they play. Ben Chilwell can play as a third centre-half as well. What a signing for Crystal Palace. That's the market Crystal Palace are shopping now. Likes of Ben Chilwell. You heard it here before. I'm buzzing. What a signing. Yes.
Clinton's happy. And if Clinton's happy, we're happy. Now, viewers of Soccer Saturday pre-match will know that this lot don't shy away from a bit of friendly competition. We've been putting them to the test before they came on air. They know what's coming. Let's see how they got on alongside Johnny McCann.
Yes, thank you very much. Welcome to the final edition here of the wee game we've been having here today. A bit of Guess Who Transfer Deadline Day special. We're going to have a bit of a Soccer Saturday competition. First up is Clinton and Sue, and the winner of this here will play these two in the final. They'll have a game after them, and then we'll decide who's going to win that.
But Sue picked me as my partner, but you wanted to do it another way because it's your game.
Yeah, it is my
Okay,
game. All right, Clint, that's okay. So, I'm going to ask a question. First one to shout in gets to go first. So, who's the top scorer in the Premier League at the minute?
Salah.
Salah. Boom. There you go.
But Sue can go first. Ladies before gentlemen.
I know. Don't know who he's trying to kid.
Okay.
What clue do you want, Sue?
Can I have selling club, please?
You can have selling club. And this could be of interest to you, Sue. No.
So they sold it.
They sold him on deadline day. Okay. Big name person that's left Everton on deadline day, Sue.
That's hard. That's hard.
Come on.
Right, let me think. Who left?
That's hard.
It's like any time.
Yeah, any time. But just you think of the biggest.
We'll go for another club. We'll go for
No, you have a guess. You go.
Oh, gosh.
She don't want it if she can't guess. No. Is it my go now?
No, I can't.
No problem.
Yeah.
It's you now. Go ahead.
I'll go to the buying club. Nah, I'll go for the guess who.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
I said guess who.
Man United. Everton and Man United deadline day.
I know it.
Here you go. Well, you have to say it.
No, I don't know.
Fellaini.
Fellaini is wrong.
I was going to say Fellaini.
You guess.
So, Sue, year or fee, you can have a clue
Everton to Man U.
Yep. Just calm yourself.
Can I have the year?
You can have the year. This will give you a good clue.
Don't help.
2004, Sue.
Don't help.
2004, Everton, Man United, deadline day.
I still don't know, you know.
Big player.
Sure.
Yeah, all right.
Where you putting it?
Okay. Come on, Sue. Oh, they don't know the spank faces. I'm going to have to push you, Sue. No. Oh, I have to go on. So, do you see the fee?
Yeah.
Oh my 27 mil.
I know. Everton to Man United. Yeah. Wayne Rooney. Rooney.
Sue. Right, here we go. The next semi-final. Who's going to play Clinton in the final? Doss, Boydie. Quick question to see who goes first. Who are the current holders of the Champions League? Boom, Boydie.
I was going to say age before beauty, and then I went, I don't see, they still beat me.
Go ahead.
Go on then, Boydie, go on.
Selling club. Right, okay, here we go. Nottingham Forest on deadline day. On deadline day. Are we beyond there, yeah?
This is a Doss one.
Should be.
Come on.
Michael Dawson.
Oh, he's done it. No! How did you do that? Oh, no, Doss.
We can. Why would you do that? Why would you put that on there?
I'm too busy thinking.
Right, here we go. It's the Soccer Saturday final of Guess Who? It's Boydie v Clint. Right, another question, see who goes first. Alan Shearer's the top ever scorer in the Premier League. Who's second?
Harry Kane.
Boom. Right, here
You
he goes.
said that earlier.
Oh, cheers. I got the other
No, I was watching Mercer.
Yeah, give it away. No.
What do you mean?
All right, okay.
I got it right. It's a question. Oh, this is hard, though.
He's done his research. Right.
Wait, I'd rather you go first. Can I pass it? No, I'll go.
No.
Selling club.
Selling
he
club.
did that.
Liverpool.
Oh,
Liverpool on deadline day.
no! I know.
Well, go ahead.
Virgil van Dijk.
No. Yeah.
All right, it's worth a try.
Yeah, Virgil van Dijk. He's at Liverpool.
Oh, sorry, I thought I said to the buying club. Sorry, I didn't read it properly.
Which one do you want? Oh, clue.
Sorry, my bad.
I want the...
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, actually.
He's thinking.
I want the buying club.
You do want the buying club.
I didn't think there. Sorry, my bad.
Chelsea.
Fernando Torres! Bang!
Oh, no! I didn't think.
There he is.
Well done. I didn't think, John. I didn't think.
Thanks for coming.
So smug here in the studio. Chris, you found something you're good at.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable. Man of many
No,
talents.
I got it wrong, Jules. I didn't read the question. It was too late. I hadn't had no dinner.
Come on,
yet.
mate. You've had too many dinners.
Get out of here.
Quiz Boyd.
He is a quiz boy. He's very good. He's good.
Okay. Lovely.
By the way, never mind that. What about the Wayne? Why did you take so long with Wayne Rooney?
No, let's not speak about this.
Who do you support?
One of the best ever.
I'm still good. No, I'm not allowed home now. That's it. I can't believe it. Just
I forgot Rooney was deadline day, actually.
on deadline. That's
Two Everton fans forget.
I wouldn't have got it either.
Unbelievable.
Thanks, Jules.
And for that reason, let's move on.
Yeah.
And say goodnight to you all. Soccer Saturday for you, Michael. Soccer Saturday for you, Sue. Soccer Saturday for you, Clinton. Chris, bench.
Weekend off, and I'm definitely not tuning in to watch Morrison. Good night.
Thanks for all your contributions tonight. See you soon. Thank you very much.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, as we bid them all a fond farewell, deals have been done. We've got deals going over the line for Spurs, City, Palace, Ipswich and Celtic. But we've still got to get news from Wolves. We're going to go there next, and we're going to wrap up the EFL for you as well. So stay with us for that.